Welcome in here on Live Impact News on WCNT Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Carlene Bragg is here in studio with me. How are you doing, Carlene?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. It is Tuesday. We are trucking along a lot. We have a lot. I'm just looking at what we have going on. We have a lot. There's a lot happening live. There's also some content that we want to get to you, including we're going to break down more on the ongoing conflict and next steps for Venezuela. We're talking to a UNC Charlotte professor. We're also going to check in with our reporters. First homicide of the year in Charlotte. Also, more on the flu. I feel like everybody's catching the flu. It has gone through. It's going through our newsroom and families of folks in our newsroom, and I'm sure you at home are dealing with it or know somebody.
At least
somebody is dealing with the flu. But we want to get to this because this story broke yesterday evening. So Sheriff Gary McFadden is facing a new court petition to have him removed from office. So we had him in as he comes in weekly here on Live Impact News. Spoke 101 with Jay Monreal to talk about that petition along with some other things that are happening at the state level and here in Mecklenburg County. Let's take you to that interview in case you missed it.
Time right now is 9:11. Breaking news right now is our top story this morning out of Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Gary McFadden facing some pressure as a new court petition has been filed to seek his removal from office. And this comes as the sheriff is also preparing to testify before the North Carolina General Assembly, that committee, later this month. Joining us right now live in the Live Impact studio with our weekly conversation is Sheriff Gary McFadden. Sheriff, thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Sticking to our commitments. We need to start with this elephant in the room and what everyone's talking about. This petition filed by Representative Carla Cunningham, as well as some former employees with the Sheriff's Office. Some serious allegations here, misconduct, retaliation, even claims of threats. What is this stemming from and your reaction to this filed petition?
Well, the reaction is that we cannot comment on this at this time because it is going to be investigated by the SBI. I received a copy yesterday and read through it, and I clearly understand what is going to happen after that, but not the process. So we're just going to leave it to the process and stick with the process and hope that the process reveal the true outcome of what these allegations are. And so we're not going to comment on it. We just hope that it is a fair and a thoughtful investigation, and that's it.
Are you concerned at all about how these allegations affect perhaps the public confidence in your office?
Well, we're always concerned about how someone tried to create a different image of you. We're always going to be concerned about that. People who know me know my image, they know my style. And so, it is always that era that we have when it becomes election season. And so we're in the middle of election season, 60 days out from the primary. So we all understand that. It is devastating to my staff, my family, and also to myself, but we have to leave it to the process.
And these allegations, of course, following you now to your next major appearance. We know the North Carolina General Assembly requesting your appearance, as well as several other leaders in Mecklenburg County, to talk about safety, transit safety, as well as other initiatives like DEI. What do you expect from this hearing?
Well, we don't know exactly what to expect from the hearing. They asked for numerous documents from my agency, and we're going to produce those documents. We believe that these are the type of conversations that we need to have prior to something like this. You're mixing two incidents. You're mixing what happened with the light rail, and then you're trying to mix it with these allegations of this petition. And what we're simply asking people to understand is these are the type of conversations we should have all the time with the lawmakers in Raleigh, and let us clarify some of the misunderstandings that they may have. And hopefully when we get to Raleigh, we will clarify some of the misunderstandings that they may have and clarify a lot of things for the public. So we look forward to the hearing. We're going to produce all the documents that have been asked of us, and we go forward. But we hope hope that this is the beginning of conversations. As I always say, that we need more conversations and collaboration and communication. And that is what will be helpful going forward.
Yeah, you've said you have nothing to hide, and you look forward to this opportunity to set the record straight. But, you know, between the court petition, the criticism over Irina's law, what happens between now and then? Because you still have a few weeks.
Well, we still have to carry on with our duties at the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. We can't stop. You know, we don't expect these things to happen the way that they did, but when they do arise, we have to go forward. We have to stand strong and keep on moving forward with the agency. So we know this sometimes is a distraction for many people. It blows up on social media, blows up in the media, and it is very hard for some of my staff and family members and friends to deal with it. But we're going to have to go through it, and we are just going to come out on the other side.
You've made a point of distinguishing your role between the Sheriff's Office and CMPD. You don't answer calls for service, and the focus is on the jail, the courthouse security, and the civil processes. Why is this distinction important to understand from both the lawmakers as well as the public?
Because, you know, and that's a great question, because what we do and CMPD does is similar, but they do not do civil papers, they do not do the courthouse, they don't take care of detention. All of that is different in the wheelhouse of the Sheriff's Office. Now, most people do not believe that the Sheriff's Office or deputies have the right to stop you for speeding or give you a traffic ticket or even powers of arrest outside of the detention center. But we do. It's just that we have been mandated by a civil process, you know, serving court documents and papers and evictions, and that is different from CMPD.
I want to shift gears a little bit to something that happened over the holidays, and we certainly watched it here from the newsroom. I know you watched it as well. New Year's Eve, the FBI announced that they thwarted a potential terrorist attack right here from Mint Hill. Is there any role from the Sheriff's Office in the investigation?
No, it wasn't no role from the Sheriff's Office. You know, we're going to house this individual when he's here. Other than housing those type of individuals, that's not our role unless we're being asked to come in to assist doing the investigation or the apprehension of these people. But our role is pretty much minimum to that.
And the suspect, an 18-year-old from Mint Hill, you work with a lot of young men. And so in the broader scheme of things, this incident kind of raises concerns about some of the radicalization happening today, especially among young folks online. And I know you're working with a lot of young men through the detention center system. What is the, philosophy from your office or you personally on working with men trying to get them out of trouble?
Well, our young men or generations, and not even this generation, several generations, have been pulled into a dark hole. And that dark hole is the internet and social media. And then homegrown terrorism is on our doorsteps every day. If you think about it, we would believe that this should happen someplace else, but it happens on our doorsteps here in Mecklenburg County. Well, these are people who set home, or as we love to say, set in the basement and, you know, listen to music and listen to other parts of the media, and people feed into it in the dark web, and then they have these ideas, and then after the ideas they want to act out on them, and they are being encouraged by many people on social media or the internet. And so besides that, you know, our young generation is going through a lot, you know, with social media, you know, being bullied and just being accepted. And then we have, you know, mental health. So we're going to have to tackle that if we want to come out on the better side. But our young generation and even our generation is going through a lot. You know, we have social media and media, and it pulls us into different directions and belief, and then it feeds into our ideas, and then we want to act upon them. So this is not so much of an isolated incident. These homegrown terrorists, what we call the lone wolf, is the most dangerous individuals out there.
Yeah, I mean, and so again, to circle back, it just comes back to the issues with the jails and the detention centers and the capacity and having some of these homegrown criminals or suspects, I should say, in the system. Where do things stand right now as far as the detention centers?
Well, our numbers are going up. We've reached our all-time record this past weekend. I think it was like 1687, and usually we hover around 1,500. So we're the numbers are rising. We well expected that, and so as we said before, these numbers will go up. And so what you have to understand that we're bringing in people in and housing people that would ordinarily be released. I talked to a family member the other day that a family member have been here for trespassing several times, and now they are going to be continuously housed for trespassing, but that person is dealing with a lot of mental health challenges, and the family is calling us to say, what can we do? Answer 2 calls this morning about mental health and their individuals or their loved ones inside a detention center. So these are the things that we're going to have to face and continue to face and work with, and hoping that the public truly understands what we have to do each day and what we are facing each day, and simply just not housing people waiting for court. But we are still housing people waiting for court, but they have many challenges.
Yeah, so looking ahead and with folks saying that there are these safety issues, capacity, that you said the numbers are going up over the weekend, how do you address these challenges? What is the first step?
Well, the first step is making sure that your staff is safe, and you have the mindset that this is part of your job. Be safe. If you have to step back, take days off. We even consider that. As we said last week, my deputies evicted 190 some people out of their homes during that time, and I told them, take time for yourself, take time for your mental health. But then when we have all these people housed inside a detention center, safety is a concern, and then we deal with that each and every day.
And when it comes to responding to those who say, you're not managing the jails in an efficient manner, what is your response to that?
Well, I always tell people, come and see what we have to manage. Most people say that from what they read, from what they have heard other people say. Come and see our challenges inside the detention center. Think about this, and I always say this. During COVID, we didn't have one person to die inside the detention center. But if you look at it, people say, well, people are dying inside the detention center. Well, they die from, basically illnesses and disease and poverty. And so, we're sitting back, as they say, Monday morning quarterbacking, looking at the detention center. Come and see the challenges that we have. We're talking about people who've been allegedly accused of violent crimes, all housed in one building, and with mental health and poverty and all of that inside of one building. So think about it. If we take a hotel, we take the Marriott and said, everybody who's homeless, let's put them in the Marriott for a month. What would be your challenges?
There you go. There is a forum coming up tonight. This is talking about the ongoing misconceptions about the closures of the Juvenile Detention Center. Talk to us about the timing of this forum. Why is it happening now, and what can people do to get involved?
Well, we want people to be fully aware of what the challenges would be if we reopen this detention center. The first challenge is staffing. It will take 96 people to run that detention center, what we call Jail North or Detention Center North. 96 people. How would we hire those people? How would we vet those people? And how would we onboard those people? Both agencies, Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office and the juvenile part of the system here, also have shortages. So if both of us has shortages, then why would we reopen another facility? We have some ideas to reopen that facility, and we want to present those ideas tonight. We do need a juvenile detention center in the state the size that Mecklenburg County could operate. But how would we operate it? And when we talk about stakeholders, everybody likes to say stakeholders and resources. Of course we need stakeholders and resources, but we need financial resources also. And the main resource is staffing. Where are we going to find 96 people to come inside and run this juvenile detention center. So we've been having conversations here and there for years, back and forth, some closed doors. I don't think nobody has an open forum like we're going to have tonight, but I have been involved in many conversations, and some of the information is slanted towards the sheriff's office that the sheriff does not want to open the juvenile detention center. That's not true. The juvenile detention center was closed at the end of our contract, and so we did not honor the second contract for the juvenile detention center, and this is what caused all the rhetoric that we closed it. So we just didn't honor the second contract.
Okay, so the contract expired, and now I guess trying to find a solution to that. So that forum is tonight again. 6 o'clock is the start time?
At Valerie Woodard Center.
All right, Valerie Woodard Center.
And we invite people to come out and talk about it. We want to know when we say stakeholders, what could you contribute to help us reopen this center, and why is it closed? Why? How can it be reopened? And that is what we look forward to.
All right, and these are the conversations, it sounds like, that you are open to and inviting open conversations with seeking real solutions.
And that is what we want to do. We want to find out real solutions. We can always talk about it, what if, or the sheriff won't do this, or the state won't do that, or the state should do this, and the sheriff should do that. So when we have this open forum, we have people telling us what they would like to see, and let the stakeholders raise their hand to say, we are willing to help, we are willing to invest, and we are willing to help organize this effort. And we also, but the biggest issue that everybody should understand is staffing. If we can find 96 people to work inside the detention center, that is the #1 problem that we're going to have, staffing.
Sheriff Gary McFadden joining us here live in the Live Impact studio. His testimony, of course, is confirmed for January 22nd in front of the State General Assembly. We will look forward to more conversations with you, Sheriff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so that was that full interview there from Sheriff Gary McFadden. Again, Jay Montreal going one-on-one with Sheriff McFadden, asking those questions after, we broke that news yesterday evening about him facing a new court petition to have him removed from office. So we'll have more from this story, but again, you heard it there from Sheriff McFadden. And if you just missed this interview here on Live Impact News, you can head over to our digital platforms on our YouTube page, also on WCNC.com, and on our mobile app. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. Thank you for joining us this afternoon here. A lot, as I promised. I'm looking down because I'm looking at the screens because a lot is happening. Actually, Carlene, it looks like they're back in D.C. So we were going to take you to Minnesota, but we want to take you to this. Let's take a look, listen to this. This is... let me pull up my notes. The House Dems are holding a January 6th special hearing. It looked like they were done for the day, but they were just kind of shuffling people out. Now, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, former January 6th Select Committee Chairman Benny Thompson, and House Democrats will convene an unofficial 3-panel hearing to set the record straight, or what they're calling set the record straight, on the violent insurrection carried out by supporters of Donald Trump. So we'll hear from witnesses that will include former law enforcement, state officials, and folks who were there to witness the attack on the Capitol. Let's take a listen in.
Like September 11th or December 7th, we must never forget what happened here 5 years ago. Regretfully, that's what congressional Republicans want us to do. House Republicans' attempts to whitewash January 6, 2021 began the weeks that followed the attack, but they accelerated when then-leader McCarthy reportedly promised to direct the Committee on House Administration to release tens of thousands of hours of sensitive Capitol security footage in exchange for votes to become Speaker of the House. As a result of this corrupt bargain, in February of 2023, the committee provided unfettered access to tens of thousands of hours of sensitive Capitol security footage to MAGA media personality Tucker Carlson. The footage was made public without approval from the United States Capitol Police. To the contrary, the Capitol Police had already informed committee Republicans that it opposed releasing the footage, citing the significant security concerns it presented. Indeed, the top lawyer for the Capitol Police noted, and I quote, "The location of each CCTV camera might enable a bad actor to exploit vulnerabilities in the system," end quote. The Assistant Chief of Police testified that camera footage of the interior of the Capitol is, again I quote, "highly sensitive information that access to it should be strictly limited," end quote. Congressional Republicans ignored these law enforcement officials and released it anyway. This disclosure was just the first of many efforts to rewrite the history of the Capitol attack. Congressional Republicans created a subcommittee of the Committee on House Administration to investigate the Select Committee's investigation. That subcommittee issued an ahistorical report in service of nothing more than politically distorting a shameful and tragic chapter in our nation's history. They lied about the Select Committee members, about their work, and they haven't stopped lying about January 6th ever since. Yet after spending millions of taxpayer dollars during their 2-year sham investigation, the subcommittee found no evidence of wrongdoing by the Select Committee because there was none. The absurd effort lasted longer than the Select Committee itself. Instead, the majority spent nearly 2 years trafficking in paranoid, long-debunked conspiracy theories and dangerous lies while ignoring its actual responsibility to run the House of Representatives and ensure that members and their families are safe from the very people that perpetrated the attack. Colleagues, if given the privilege to chair the Committee on House Administration under Speaker Jeffries, I will restore the committee's proper oversight functions. I will not waste taxpayer dollars entertaining ridiculous and disproven but nonetheless harmful conspiracy theories. We will respect the women and men of the United States Capitol Police by giving them not just empty words and gestures of appreciation, but the training they need and the pay they deserve. During the Select Committee's June 9, 2022 public hearing, Vice Chair Cheney rightly observed that President Trump summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack. But an arsonist isn't the only one responsible for a fire. Those who stand by and watch it burn, or worse, fan the flames, carry that moral stain as well. Congressional Republicans experienced firsthand a deadly attack on this sacred place, on them, on their staffs, and on their country. But they chose and continue to choose cowardice, demonizing the innocent, protecting the guilty, and disparaging the patriotism of police officers who saved their lives even before the bloodstains were washed from the Capitol steps, all while claiming to back the blue no matter what. We cannot allow that to stand. We will not allow that to stand. And with that, I yield back, sir.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes the gentlelady from California for 3 minutes. Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wish I didn't, but I still remember January 6, 2021 very clearly. It was my 4th day here in the Capitol as a member of Congress, and I literally didn't know my way around yet. My team walked me to the House gallery so I could watch the election certification proceedings. I was so proud to be one of the members chosen to be there. And I remember sitting there thinking about this incredible feat, peacefully passing the torch in our democracy. But then the insurrectionists breached the Capitol. Even 5 years later, there are things that I can't shake. The buzzing of the escape hoods, the fear when I couldn't open the packaging, the sound of the doors closing and being locked, introducing myself to my new colleagues as we were cowering under our chairs, thinking through what I could use as a weapon if I needed to, pens, my high heels, being sure that the elevator doors were going to open and someone with a machine gun was going to be right there, climbing over the chairs and under the railings to finally get out of the gallery. And I remember Annie Custer's hand, pulling me where I needed to go. I learned a few years ago that the insurrectionists were only 30 seconds behind us. 30 seconds. 30 seconds could have meant losing our democracy that day. That's how close we came. Before Congress, I spent my career working on conflict and political violence at the United Nations and the state. I worked on
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We are approaching the top of the hour, and live right now you're watching out of Washington, D.C., House Democrats holding that special meeting on the January 6th riots, hearing from witnesses, law enforcement, and those who were there on that day during that insurrection there at the Capitol 5 years ago. All right. So let's move away from that, and we want to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So we've been covering for days now what's next when it comes when it comes as far as talking about Venezuela, right? So here's what we got. I want to read you the latest from NBC News. So President Donald Trump told NBC News he could launch a second military operation in Venezuela if his acting president stops cooperating. He also said the U.S. may subsidize an effort by oil firms to rebuild the country's energy infrastructure. I want to read you one last thing. A U.S. official told NBC News that a recent classified intelligence assessment determined that top members of the regime, including new acting leader Delcy Rodriguez, were best positioned to lead a stable government if Nicolas Maduro lost power. Now, as you remember, and as we've been covering, we've been talking about that deposed leader, Venezuelan leader, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife, Celia Flores, pleaded not guilty in New York after they were captured in that surprise attack. Maduro in court saying, I am a prisoner of war, still exerting his power there, still saying, hey, I'm still the president there in Venezuela. We want to bring in, and we had him on yesterday afternoon, so I'm thankful that he's able to make it back. Dr. Greg Weeks, Associate Dean of College of Humanities and Earth and Social Sciences, Latin American Studies there at UNC Charlotte. Thank you for joining us again, Dr. Weeks.
No, thank you for having me.
I know it was a lot I put out there in the beginning, and we continue to get updates seemingly by the minute on what's been playing out in Venezuela and how it impacts sort of everything that's been going on around the world. World leaders are also reacting. Just from those updates I provided, I guess your assessment on what's been playing out the last 48 hours or so.
Well, what we've seen, really unlike a lot of U.S. invasions in the past, is that a very quick military operation to remove a president that does not leave U.S. troops on the ground. So we have this interesting situation where you have a dictatorship, and the dictatorship is completely still in power. The vice president was very close to Maduro. So it's not exactly clear what has changed in Venezuela itself. And we'll have to see how the Trump administration maintains control over Delcy Rodriguez sort of from afar, or as I said yesterday, by remote control. And really, this is something where things are changing by the hour, just not entirely clear what direction Venezuela is going to take. It's very different from other cases.
Well, we've heard from France, we've heard from Iran, again, countries from different ends of the perspective and as far as how they view what's happening in Venezuela, but the overall sentiment is cautiously. Well, with France, cautiously optimistic, but some pessimism in what's happening there and what's played out. Sort of, what's from your vantage point, the public view of the United States and what's been happening from these countries' perspective?
Well, I think what you're seeing is a lot of countries, people within those countries, viewing the U.S. as just sort of doing what it wants and not really particularly concerned about international law or sovereignty of other countries. So they wonder, well, what could this lead to? What further things could happen as a result of this? So very cautious. Nobody's shedding any tears about Nicolas Maduro leaving power because he was quite cruel and wouldn't allow elections and shut down all opposition. So he himself isn't really the issue, but it's rather a matter of international law. Can the U.S. simply go and grab people from other countries, leaders of other countries that it doesn't like? And so that's why you're seeing particularly Russia and China. Well, if you can do that near your country, maybe we can do that near our countries. So that's why there's a lot of sort of hesitancy around the world about what the U.S. has done.
And that being said, and this is not really a question, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on this. The conversation over Greenland has come back up. When you hear that, and also, again, what's been playing out, your thoughts and your sort of, could you provide some context on what's happening there?
So Greenland is so different. It's a very different situation. President Trump has been interested in obtaining Greenland for a long time, but it's different because it's part of a democratic country, an autonomous region of Denmark. It's certainly not a dictatorship. It has not sort of violated the rights of its own people. It's just simply something that the president wants. So So it's different in that way. It's different also is that would require invasion. You can't sort of land a few troops and have them leave, and the U.S. suddenly controls Greenland. So obtaining Greenland would be an act of war, even more so than with Venezuela. And so that's why you see a lot more opposition to discussions about Greenland, even more so than with Venezuela.
One thing that you talked about yesterday afternoon, and I want to ask you this before I let you go. There has been comparisons to U.S. interventions in countries like Panama, Cuba, Guatemala. For historical context, because U.S. as I just laid out there, intervention is nothing new when it comes to the U.S. In looking back in history, decades, it went from Cold War to the war on drugs. Could you explain sort of the difference? Because there's a difference between, because you keep hearing what happened in Panama, but there's a clear difference there, right?
Well, there is. I mean, the U.S. has invaded numerous countries, many in Latin America, and one thing that's always happened is that the U.S. has sent thousands of troops. So in Panama, it's thousands of troops fighting, U.S. troops, and then they stay there. They stay there perhaps only a matter of weeks, but they stay there until the U.S. decides that things are stabilized. And so this is very different. The U.S. is not does not have occupying troops. And that raises the question of how control can be exerted when the U.S. does not have troops there. So a lot of the similarities that appear on the surface are quite different. Venezuela is a much larger country than, say, a Panama or a Dominican Republic. So this is really uncharted territory for doing this from afar. And so we have to watch day by day how this plays out.
And as you mentioned just minutes ago, I mean, things are changing seemingly by the hour. And as they do, we would love to check in with you, Dr. Weeks. Thank you for your time again. Associate Dean Dr. Greg Weeks, their College of Humanities and Earth and Social Sciences, Latin American Studies at UNC Charlotte. Thank you for your time, Dr. Weeks.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so we want to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. We want to go now to Minnesota, where they're having a press conference, but this is Governor Tim Walz, who announced yesterday that he is not running for a third term there in Minnesota. He's answering questions. Let's take a listen to what he is saying at the moment.
Around guns, they are sadly mistaken. They are going to take votes on protecting our children, or they're not going to get anything else done. When that report comes back, that will give us, I think, some idea where we're going. I'm excited to see and hopeful what Tim O'Malley's going to see. I think you're seeing this. I feel pretty confident right now that the plan on how to get there is getting pretty well laid out. I think the gap analysis of where there were gaps is pretty well there. I think we're going to have to figure out how we implement of the safeguards in place. Probably have to come back to the legislature. It'll be interesting to see, and I really do appreciate that question about the fraud committee. If I'm not mistaken, this planned meeting on fraud in this program before it implemented was the very first meeting ahead of trying to prevent. I need the legislator to help me on prevention. It's pretty easy after the fact to say this happened. They're really good at that. They're not so good on the front end, so I think that would be good. But I just want to say again to all of you, incredibly grateful. I'm gonna make note of this. I had my team verify this. I've stood in front of the press more than any governor in Minnesota history and taken more questions from the press in Minnesota history. My team has provided more data under the Data Practices Act than any governor in history. And I'm going to preview for you now and I would ask all of you for the help on this. It seems absolutely outrageous and a gap to me. The only people who aren't subject in state government to data practices are the legislature. And we've had a pedophile in the state Senate that we got no information about. We have credible accusations of one Republican representative against another Republican representative that they committed fraud. We have a requirement that the House run an audit, which they did not do. You are the gatekeepers on this. Demand that there's data practices, and if they have emails showing that I have committed fraud, you should get those. Why aren't they putting them out there? Why aren't they turning them over to prosecutors? And right now, they are hiding behind a veil of innuendo. They're protecting the biggest fraudster in the White House. They are unwilling to acknowledge that January 6th was an insurrection. They are unwilling to stand with Melissa Hortman's children. And I want to tell you this, for those legislators who went and shed crocodile tears at her funeral, shame on you. Shame on you. Her children are asking you to do one thing in her name. It's to tell the president to stop doing this. That shouldn't be that difficult. So look, for Republicans here, I have more energy than I've ever had. I am committed to this state more than I've ever been. I love this state with every fiber of my being. I believe we are the best state. Have I been perfect in this? God dang no. I wasn't perfect as a teacher. I wasn't perfect as a coach. I wasn't perfect as a soldier, but I was pretty damn good at all those things. And I am committed to getting this right. And I will tell you what, if they think now, I mean, game's over for them now. It was all me. I was the bad guy or whatever. Well, put up or shut up now and tell us what you're going to do to make this state better. Answer these tough questions. Quit hiding behind this and expect for the next 11 months for me to ride you like you've never been ridden, to make sure that you're doing your job. I'm asking for your help. We need data practices with the legislature right now. You need to expect to get every one of my emails just like you have when you ask for them. Every one of my commissioners, you should be able to ask for those, which you can do, and we need to do that. Here's the thing that I'm going to ask all of you is, Republicans want to tear this state down. Republicans want to tell you it's too dangerous to walk down the streets. Republicans want to tell you there's nothing good comes out of Minneapolis-St. Paul. Republicans want to tell you everybody with brown skin is stealing money or that they're not welcome here. They want to do nothing to improve this state. Their idea of improving this state is being a parrot for Donald Trump, agreeing to everything that he agreed with. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. It ain't happening. I'm not going anywhere. And you can make all your requests for me to resign over my dead body. Will that happen? I will fight this thing till the very end to make this state better. And the question that I think they need to decide is when did the guy in the White House resign? When does he take accountability for what he did? Because it isn't going to happen here in terms of us shying away from making the state better. So you'll get to see me more. The good news is on this is that I got no election to look forward to. I've been in front of you. I'll call on who I want to call on. and I'll watch what the press gets written, and we'll make sure that in this state, there's full accountability for everybody. Because buck stops with me. I'm accountable for this. And because of that accountability, I'm not running for office again. But I have a year to continue to improve on a record that I think will stand up against anybody's, a record that has made Minnesota better, a record that makes people want to come here, and a record that has respected not only the dignity of people, but the idea of rule of law and camaraderie. So the one thing that I hate is anytime I get drug into being next to Donald Trump, God help me, I don't want to be judged against that guy. Judge me against an average Minnesotan going out to do their job every day and being decent to their neighbors. So thank you all, and we'll be back.
All right, so that was Governor Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, fiery speech there. Again, we broke it live yesterday. We also heard from Danny Spiewak from KARE 11 on Governor Walz saying he's not going to run for a third term, or he was dropping his reelection bid rather for a third term there as Minnesota's governor. All right, so let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Servant. All right, so we want to get to a story that we are following, a developing story. One person killed after a shooting in Northwest Charlotte. Let's bring in Walker Lawson, who was there on the scene. He's here in studio now. Walker, what can you tell us, man?
Yeah, so we went out there to go speak with some neighbors just a little bit ago, and the sentiment is pretty much the same from most people in the area. Very surprised, especially around the time frame this happened. The shooting happened around 7 p.m. They said this was shocking. This is usually a time you're going out walking the dogs, going out and might have kids out on bikes or things like that. So they said this was shocking. It maybe something you'd hear about in the middle of the night, but not at 7 o'clock in the evening. Also, they said that this is an area that they feel like this side of Charlotte sometimes does get a bad rep, but the community that they live in, they have never, that they can recall, had a shooting in that area from both of the neighbors that I spoke to, one that's been there 50 years, one that's been there 10 years. Details are limited, though. What we know is the basis that someone was shot. This is the first homicide of the year, shot and killed. And that's it. We know nothing else.
And this is this is the neighborhood right off of 77, right?
It's not too far
It's not
from
too
77. Yeah, it took me I took some back roads to get here, but to get here on time, but not too far. But again, no arrests have been made, so that's kind of notable. And what's interesting is this first homicide happened on the day that the city of Charlotte had its first safety committee meeting.
Oh, man.
And so, kind of listening into that meeting from yesterday that Jesse had covered to try to see maybe what else they talked about. Obviously, the meeting was predominantly about mental health, but we don't know what the cause of this shooting was or what led up to that. But it'll be interesting. You'll hear from neighbors tonight kind of about their thoughts on this kind of shooting, disrupting the neighborhood, but then also their concerns maybe moving forward. We kind of asked, because that meeting happened yesterday with the safety committee, we had asked what they would like to see improved in the city of Charlotte and what they feel like will help better address issues. Is it mental health services for them? Is it just getting more cops on the street in their community? Or what do they feel? So you'll kind of hear from that tonight.
And you're looking at video from the scene from earlier this morning. Walker, when can folks check out your story?
Believe in 4 and 6.
Well, I can check for you real quick.
But I've heard 4 and 6, and I've heard 5 and 6.
4 and 6.
4 and 6.
Good memory,
Okay.
sir.
Yes.
Walker Lawson there. Again, you can catch him at 4 and 6.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, man.
Thank you.
All right, so we want to head now to Washington, D.C., where we took you there earlier, where House Dems are holding a hearing. Today is January 6th, exactly 5 years ago, the insurrection at the Capitol. So we were hearing from witnesses, from law enforcement, the folks who were there. Let's take a listen in to what is being said.
He is a lawyer who is a lawyer's lawyer, and he found in his work that there was an indictable offense, and he indicted the president for what he did. That needed to happen. He was only stopped because of the Justice Department's rule that you can't prosecute a sitting president. It was not dropped. It was because Trump won the election. But Jack Smith pursued it all the way through. And he is, in my opinion, he testified before a Republican committee that was set up to try to get him in a trap so they could prosecute him for something they could create. Their vindictive tour needs to stop, but it's still going on, a vendetta. Jack Smith stood firm. He spoke truth, even though he knew that if he said anything at all that they could possibly conjure up in another manner, he would be indicted and they'd probably take his bar license away and try to put him in jail. He said he followed the facts and then applied it to the law. In his recent deposition, he told the Judiciary Committee, the decision to bring charges against President Trump was mine, but the basis for those charges rests entirely with President Trump and his actions, as alleged in the indictments returned by the grand jury in 2 different districts. Our investigation developed and proved beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election and to prevent the lawful transfer of power. That was heroic actions by him. President Trump is a treasonous individual, and it's awful that he's still in the White House and destroyed the East Wing, and as Mr. Raskin quite said, had graffiti put up over John Kennedy's name at the Kennedy Center. One date, somebody mentioned, dates will always remember it, and a September date, January date, and Pearl Harbor. We'll never forget November 22, 1963, of those of us who are alive. I remember it all the time. Whenever I think about it, I start to tear up. I'm about to tear up now. And the idea that he put his name over John Kennedy's should never be forgotten, and he should be wiped out. I yield back the balance of my time.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Johnson, for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to Leader Jeffries and all of the other leaders who have made sure that we commemorate this day appropriately with this hearing. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and the United States Capitol has been a building permanently etched in my mind from an early age. It regularly came into my view as daily life took my family and I around the District of Columbia. To me, the Capitol was always a citadel, a beacon of freedom, democracy, and justice. At the age of 10, I developed the vision that one day I would serve there as a legislator. I was always so proud. Even today, I'm still in awe of the United States Capitol, what it stands for, and the fact that it has been my workplace for the last 19 years. On January 6, 2021, amidst social distancing in response to the COVID pandemic, then still ongoing, I was so proud to be one of a limited number of members of the House to be in the chamber to witness the certification of the 2020 elections. Though somewhat envious of those who were seated on the floor, I nonetheless savored the honor of having a seat in the House gallery from which I could observe this solemn proceeding. As the peaceful transfer of power was taking place in the chamber, the proceedings were rudely, then violently interrupted. The disorder became louder and louder as the insurrectionists got nearer and nearer. The cacophony shut down the speaker and caused the business of the House to stop. From the gallery, I watched as the speaker was extracted from the chair and my colleagues evacuated from the floor. What would happen to us in the gallery, I thought. The situation became scary, dire, and dangerous. I felt like a sitting duck. In those moments, while in self-preservation mode, I thought of jumping from the gallery onto the House floor so that I could be evacuated. My thoughts then turned to my colleagues also in the gallery, and my thoughts turned to my moral responsibility to them. I would never leave them to save myself. As we were being spirited out of the chamber into the hallway, I saw dozens of violent insurrectionists lying spread-eagled on the marble floor under the gunpoint of Capitol Hill police. I later learned that all of those insurrectionists had been released without charges because there were not enough law enforcement manpower to take them into custody. They all walked. They came into the U.S. Capitol, disrupted our work, and desecrated this citadel of democracy, and they all walked. Needless to say, I was gratified later when more than 1,500 perpetrators were prosecuted, some of the worst offenders receiving 20-year sentences. There was a sense that people had been held accountable for their crimes. Then on January 20th, 2025, Donald J. Trump shot Lady Justice on Fifth Avenue in broad daylight by pardoning each and every January 6th insurrectionist. It was a blow to justice and the rule of law in America. And my sense of anger at injustice has intensified as Donald Trump and his lapdog Republicans in Congress do everything in their power in an unholy and futile attempt to whitewash and rewrite the history of what happened on January 6th. While Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans continue their systematic assault on truth and justice, I will proudly stand in the breach with House Democrats and all people of goodwill to defend the concepts of truth, freedom, liberty, and justice for all, which is American democracy. And I'd like to thank the Capitol Hill police officers and the Metropolitan Police Department officers who defended us on that fateful day, and thank you, Speaker Emerita Pelosi, for your leadership during those troubled times. With that, I yield back.
Thank you very much. We've been joined by another member of the panel, young lady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Scanlon, who is not necessarily one person in this situation, but we're trying to move forward, and we thank Ms. Torres for giving up her seat so you can join us. Ms. Scanlon, for 3 minutes.
Thank you, and thank you for arranging this hearing. I started January 6th, along with Congresswoman Dean, in a meeting with Democratic members of Congress from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was key to President Trump's effort to overturn the 2020 election. He and his allies had spread lies and conspiracy theories about the votes in Pennsylvania and elsewhere, but those claims were universally debunked and disproven and rejected in over 60 different cases, although a third of them were in Pennsylvania. That didn't stop his big lie. It just grew bigger, culminating in the violent attack on this building on January 6th. My colleagues and I that morning knew we'd have to defend Pennsylvania's votes, including from our Republican colleagues who'd just been sworn in on the very same ballots they were now challenging. But we had no idea that a violent mob would interrupt Congress's vote count, turning this building into a war zone. I never expected to have to barricade the doors to my office or to see the Vice President, members of Congress, and staff fleeing for their lives, to see hundreds of injured police officers, some losing their lives and their livelihoods in the aftermath. Those officers are our guardians, but also our friends. There's one young officer who I still can't see without tearing up because I didn't see him for weeks after January 6th, and I was afraid he'd been grievously injured. So I do still embarrass him by crying on his shoulder. But most of all, I never expected that 5 years later, the lies that led to that tragic day would continue. While members of the president's own party begged for his help that day and condemned his actions for a few days afterwards, they quickly knuckled under and joined his effort to erase or rewrite history. The handful of
All right, so that is the House Democrats hearing on January 6th. All right, so let's shift gears. Let's talk about something that's impacting a lot of folks, especially in our newsroom. One person in I should say just one person, but James. I was trying to set you up, but it didn't.
I sneezed like a minute ago, and he almost escorted me out of the room.
We're talking about flu. Flu has been impacting so many people. I'm going to read this blurb from NBC News. So doctor visits like for flu-like symptoms like fever, sore throat, extreme fatigue, and body aches have hit the highest levels in nearly 30 years. That's according to the CDC, and are likely to continue to rise in the coming weeks. At least 5,000 people have died this season, including 9 children. So yeah, this is serious stuff here. Bria's here. Bria Smith is here in studio. You're following all the illnesses, respiratory illnesses. What are you hearing, and how's it impacting folks here now, I guess not only in Mecklenburg County, but surrounding areas?
Yeah, definitely. Well, North Carolina and South Carolina, I looked at the map on the CDC of the flu cases, and they are in purple, purple being the highest. So it's actually labeled as very high among, several other states throughout our country that are facing these cases. In North Carolina, just last week, this week, from last week, 25% of cases have increased already. This season, there have been 12 deaths in North Carolina, 16 in South Carolina. So it is very serious. And doctors say, people have that question, then why are these cases increasing so rapidly? And that's because the vaccines are actually created in February of, said year. And so last year, when the vaccine was created for this variant, in July, so in the summer months, is when a mutation was kind of escaped, if you will, for lack of better words, and that is why so many people are now being diagnosed with the flu and things like that, because that vaccine was less effective just because it didn't have time to kind of escape that window. So that's why we're seeing these increasing numbers. But they still say that the vaccine is effective. It will kind of mitigate those symptoms that people are feeling. So definitely get vaccinated if that is your choice. And then also if you are feeling those symptoms and you're just very sick, to kind of stay at home and just practice those, healthy etiquette, sneezing in your elbow, coughing in your elbow, things like that, washing your hands for sure.
Are they seeing less people being vaccinated? Did they mention that at all?
That wasn't a talk. It's just something that they are pushing, though. Okay. But that could also be a factor as to why we're seeing increase, and that's kind of like a common thing where, people who don't get vaccinated, it's obviously, it spreads more. So that does play a factor in the role of the increasing numbers for sure.
I've been seeing quite a few people wearing masks. I haven't seen masks in a few years. You're talking about COVID.
A sight to see.
And I'm like, oh, wow, this is a little PTSD.
But it's kind of normal, though.
Yeah,
I kind of look at people and I'm like, wow, like that used to be our life just a few years ago. It's something doctors are recommending too. If you're out in public and you feel like you don't want, to get sick, or you can't get sick because you have to be at work, they are asking or, encouraging people to mask up. So kind of stepping back into those kind of COVID-like times.
Oh, man.
Kind of jump when someone sneezes like James over there.
I'm sorry.
And he sneezed right before we got to Bria.
Right before this conversation.
Some good advice there. Bria, when can folks catch your story this evening?
The full story, 5 and 6 this evening.
All right, don't sneeze around me, Bria.
I won't do.
Bria gives me a hard time all the time. So.
Don't want to get called out.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. James is also here in studio.
Not sneezing anymore.
He's not sneezing. I want to point that out. He's not sneezing. But, James, it feels great outside.
It does. Here's a live look outside, Nick.
Man, it feels.
The sun's out.
Have you been able to go outside this afternoon? Like, pop your head outside?
We don't ever go outside in news. We just stay.
We stay in the building. I did, and it feels great. I was able to sneak away for a little bit. Beautiful day. A contrast from I feel like the past couple of days where it was just cooler, and then Sunday I believe it was rainy and cold, or was that Saturday? I'm getting my days mixed up.
Multiple days of cloudy.
Cloudy and so good for us and good for Mother Nature that she decided to give us some great weather here in the Charlotte area. All right, let's get to our full forecast. Here's Becca Birdsall.
Yeah, the theme for this week is going to be not too hot and not too cold, turning perfectly mild this afternoon. We're talking 60s today, but by the time we go to this time tomorrow, we'll be in the 70s. Next best chance for rain that comes alongside our next cold front that's going to push through on Saturday, bringing us some incoming cooler air by the time we get into the second half of the weekend. In the meantime, enjoy the sunshine today. We'll have lots of it as temperatures continue to warm up. It's middle 60s for the high temperature today. Warmer temperatures expected for your Wednesday. In fact, we'll be peaking with high temperatures in the middle 70s. Keep in mind our average high for this time of year still around 52 degrees. So these temperatures are anywhere from 15 even over 20 degrees above the average high for this time of year. We'll stay in the 70s all the way through next Saturday. That next cold front, that's going to bring us from the 70s down into the 50s by the time we get into Sunday. It's more seasonable and January-like conditions expected. Today's random weather stat, Charlotte averages approximately 170-degree day in January. These records go all the way back since 1878, and we are expected to do that 4 times in a row, but it's nowhere near the warmest high temperatures for the month of January. The highest is actually 79 degrees back in 2002, but that second place was only 78 back in 2022. So tomorrow, 74, it's going to be warm, but certainly not record-breaking. We are anticipating rainfall between Friday night and Saturday. Here's a look at what we're expecting in terms of rain chances, and the highest accumulating rainfall definitely expected in the mountains and foothills, but lower rainfall totals east of that. So not anticipating a whole lot here in the Charlotte Metro, but certainly disruptive, especially if you are headed to that Panthers playoff game. Bulk of the rain will be arriving for Saturday. Here's a look at that latest timing, and I do want to let you know that the timing has slowed down from the past couple of days. So Friday night going into early Saturday, mountains have the highest chance to see a couple of showers. By the time we get into Saturday, late morning, they do start to push a little bit east over towards the foothills and northern Piedmont. Eventually, highest rain chances I do think will be in the afternoon and evening hours, pushing off by early Sunday morning, and then here comes that incoming cold air. So right now, it could be a little bit disruptive, again, if you're headed off to the Panthers playoff game, but you'll want that poncho on hand and prepare for overall mild temperatures in the middle to upper 60s, even peaking close to around 71. By the time we get into Sunday, will sunshine back into the forecast. Highs will be in the middle to upper 50s, but Sunday night into early Monday, that's when things get cold. Temperatures will drop near freezing once again, right where they should be for this time of year. It's sunny and gorgeous outside now, 61 in Charlotte, but already have started to warm up into the middle 60s over towards Lancaster and Chesterfield County, 55 over towards Boone, 58 out the door over towards Lincoln. Tonight and early tomorrow morning, we've got the usual patchy fog to deal with. After that, sunshine back into the forecast, and a cold front will push through late Wednesday. That means we're going to go from about 74 on Wednesday afternoon to about 70 degrees on Thursday, so slightly cooler with more clouds in this Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. We'll also have more clouds incoming for Friday ahead of that next rain system. Right now, it doesn't look like Charlotte will get the bulk of it. The mountains and foothills will. We'll just get a little bit of that light rainfall. By Sunday, cooler, highs in the middle to upper 50s. Then Monday morning, freezing temperatures finally starting to feel like winter for next week.
All right, so that is your full forecast. Okay, so moments ago, the Charlotte Fire Department celebrated the opening of the new Firehouse 30. Is a 14,000 square foot, 2-story, 3-bay facility that will cover about 9.7 square miles. This is along Beam Road in the airport area. It's a $10.3 million project, and it's Charlotte's first all-electric firehouse and will house the city's first all-electric North American-style fire engine. Let's take you to that ceremony.
Fire service uncoupling symbolizes the moment a firehouse transitions from construction to service. It represents readiness, responsibility, and the commitment to respond when the community calls for help. It is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Charlotte Fire Chief Reginald Johnson.
Thank you, Battalion Chief Lipsack, and good afternoon, everybody. It's so good to have so many folks here to celebrate with us today. When someone in the community dials 911, it's because something has gone wrong and they need help now. In 2025, Charlotte Fire responded to more than 126,000 emergencies. Firehouse 30 exists to shorten the distance between crisis and care and put help on the scene much faster. That readiness does not happen by accident. I want to begin by welcoming and thanking several members of our city leadership who are with us today. Councilmember Dimple Ajmera, City Council at Large, thank you for your continued support of Charlotte Fire. Councilmember Dante Anderson, District 1 Representative, City Council Safety Committee, thank you for your leadership and advocacy for the men and women of this department. I'd like to thank our general services staff. I think I see a lot of them here with Phil, Kathleen, and many others. Thank you all for your support of this and many other projects that we're working on. And last but not least, thank you to Heather Bolick, our Chief Sustainability and Resiliency Officer, whose office played a critical role in making Firehouse 30 a model for the future. Today is more than opening a new firehouse. It's about honoring where we have been, recognizing the people who carried us here, and committing ourselves to the future of the community. Today is about more than opening a firehouse. It's about honoring people and places that carried the company for decades, preparing for what comes next. Firehouse 30 began operating in 1991. I want you to pay attention to that date. Started operating in 1991 out of what was meant to be a temporary quarters, serving the airport area, nearby industrial facilities, and the Steel Creek community. The temporary home served for more than 30 years. The station operated out of a small house on Bell Oaks Drive built in 1957, and it earned a nickname that stuck, Grandma's House. Firehouse lore says it once belonged to the grandmother of one of the firefighters assigned to that station. Whether legend or fact, that name stuck. It felt like a home inside. Crews lived and ate together, built strong bonds, and even shared stories about a raccoon that learned where the leftovers were kept and became a part of the firehouse folklore. That spirit carries on today at new Firehouse 30. As Charlotte has grown, it became clear that Grandma's House could no longer meet the needs of the community or the risks to this area. What never changed was the commitment of the firefighters assigned to Station 30. They continue to serve with professionalism and pride every single day. The new firehouse represents the same commitment, now matched with the resources needed for today and the flexibility needed for tomorrow. The facility strengthens response times in the Beam Road and Airport corridor. It supports one of the most complex response areas in the city, including the airport, industrial operations, growing neighborhoods. It is designed to grow as Charlotte grows. Firehouse 30 also reflects the city's leadership in sustainability and resilience. Charlotte's first electric firehouse paired with the first electric North American style fire engine. This is what responsible growth, innovation look like when public safety is the center. None of this happens without partnership. Thank you to the Mayor and City Council, City Manager's Office, City Manager Marcus Jones, the Office of Sustainability and Resilience, and the Department of General Services for your vision and support. Firehouses are not just buildings, they are promises. Promises that when someone in the community dials 911, trained professionals will respond. Firehouse 30 carries forward the spirit of Grandma's House while providing the community with the protection it deserves for the future. Thank you for being part of an important and historical day. At this time, I'd like to invite Councilmember Dimple Ajmera, who has been instrumental in this project and many others, to come up and share a few words. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is an exciting day for Charlotte because as we open Firehouse 30, we are not just opening a new building, we are opening a promise to our community. A promise that public safety remains our #1 priority. A promise that innovation belongs in our city government, and a promise that Charlotte will lead by example. Firehouse 30 is more than a fire station. It is a model for the future. As a LEED certified facility, it uses smart design and advanced energy systems to work more efficiently, reduce costs, and protect our environment without ever compromising on our safety. From heat reflecting concrete to smart cooling roofs, every detail reflects a simple truth. Progress and responsibility can and must go hand in hand. At the groundbreaking, our Chief Sustainability Officer, Heather Bollick, shared a belief displayed at our Fire Training Academy that says it best. We do what is right, not what is easy. That's exactly what this Firehouse 30 represents. Because doing what's right is not always the fastest path, but it is the path that builds stronger neighborhoods, supports our firefighters, and protects future generations. This firehouse stands as a commitment to protect our people and our planet, and to build a Charlotte that is ready for tomorrow. I want to thank Chief Johnson, our firefighters, city staff, and every partner who helped us bring this vision to life. So congratulations on setting a new standard for public safety in Charlotte. Thank you. And now I would like to turn it over to Council Member Dante Anderson, who represents District 1. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to be here at the reimagining of Grandma's house. I just found out that the folklore around that. As you heard, my name is Dante Anderson. I represent District 1, and I am the chair of the new Safety Committee. And I can't tell you how good it feels to finally be here at this moment. This is more than a new building. It's a new resource for the people of Charlotte. As someone who grew up here, I know just how much fire stations really mean to the neighborhood. It's a place of safety, but also trust. When you see those red trucks roll out, you know your city is ready to be protected, and the good men and women who support the fire department, who are members of the fire department, are here to protect you. As the chair of our newly created Safety Committee, I think a lot about safety these days and what it really truly means. It's not just about a quick response. That matters. Response time matters. But it's about connection. It's about firefighters being a part of the community they serve. Firehouse 30 will be that place. It will be a place that is ingrained in community. And it will be a place where neighbors and first responders work together to build community trust. This station also shows us how we can protect our people and our planet at the same time. It's the city's first all-electric firehouse, and we can expect that this building will be a LEED Gold building, which is tremendous, a tremendous accomplishment. Every feature helps reduce emissions, lowers cost, and creates a healthier environment. This is what the future of public safety looks like: strong, efficient, and sustainable. Firehouse 30 is an investment in the people who live here and the firefighters who serve them. I want to thank the chief, the fire department, of course our staff, but also my colleagues on city council for supporting these efforts and raising their hands to invest in initiatives and efforts like this. We've done the hard work and we've made this possible. And I want to thank every single firefighter who will soon call Grandma's house home. Thank you so much. Welcome to Firehouse 30, where community and safety come together for a better Charlotte. And with that, I'd like to welcome Heather Bullock, who is our Chief Sustainability and Resiliency Officer.
Good afternoon. It is indeed a great day, an exciting day. And I was so really pleased to be able to show my son this awesome building last week when he was out of school. And he's 12, and his whole life he's been wanting to be a police officer. After seeing this really, really amazing building that I'm really proud of, and seeing this really awesome electric fire truck, he might have been pushed to the other side. So you have heard today from our chief and council members about all of the forward-thinking, sustainable, and efficient features of this building and how it houses one of the most technologically advanced vehicles of our fleet yet, our electric fire truck. However, as many of the staff here today can tell you, especially Kathleen Zushek, I am already thinking about what's next, and she is too. And though I am so proud of how far the city has come with the support of all of the council members and leadership, I know that to really move the needle in the Queen City will truly depend on the support of our entire community. And so with that in mind, I want to take this time today to ask you to charge into the future with us. So how can you do that? I charge you to go today to EnergySaverNC.org, because just a couple of days ago, the state of North Carolina has now included Mecklenburg County in the Energy Saver NC program, which gives free energy audits to income qualified homes, and you can weatherize your home. If it's time for an appliance upgrade, consider efficient electric heat pumps like we have here at Firehouse 30, or go solar like we did here at Firehouse 30. The city has laid the groundwork, but charge into the future with us. Thank you so much.
All right, so that was a celebration there for Firehouse 30 on Beam Road here in Charlotte. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We are approaching the top of the hour. We will get to a story that we broke here on Live Impact News yesterday afternoon. So big news that we are continuing to unpack, and this is from the CDC. So they announced on Monday a overhaul of the childhood vaccine schedule that recommends fewer shots to all children. Now, these changes effective immediately and most closely resemble Denmark's vaccine schedule. So we want to get now to Megan Bragg with our Verified team, who is here in studio. So you're looking at this new look
Yeah.
at what the vaccine schedule is.
Yeah, vaccine schedule. It went from 17 to 11 now recommended. So 6 of them are now crossed off, not recommended for children to get. Now, usually what these recommendations mean is schools will require these vaccines, especially public schools. So the state will kind of go by what the CDC's mandate is, or recommendation is, I should say. So basically, what we did today was take a few of those vaccines, kind of look into those illnesses and look up and talk about what they are. So I spoke with Dr. Carla Robinson, who's a family physician. She was actually on Charlotte today, so it was wonderful. I was able to just grab her.
Nice.
We love when that happens.
That's always the best. That's always the best.
And then I also went to the Mayo Clinic to kind of look up these viruses as well as the vaccine. So we are looking into hepatitis A and B because that is no longer recommended. And basically what this is a liver, it affects your liver. Hepatitis A is through foodborne illnesses. So say you go to a restaurant and you ingest something that has that virus, and so that's how you would get that. So it's through foodborne, and then hepatitis B is usually through sexually transmitted. Is usually sexually transmitted. So those are the two. But what those shots are is a series of shots that you get when you're a child, and then it should protect you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So that is a good thing. Now, Dr. Robinson was saying, you know, these are prevalent in the community. You can get these. That's why she does recommend getting vaccines. But if you don't get vaccines, she says, you know, just be extra careful, wash your hands, do what you need to do. The other one is meningococcal vaccine, the meningococcal vaccine.
Yeah.
And I know you're like,
No, I'm so impressed that I would have stumbled over
I've
that
been
one.
trying to say,
yeah.
meningococcal. Okay, yep, that's the one. Basically, have you ever heard of meningitis?
Yes.
Okay, so meningitis is pretty much the swelling of your brain or your spinal cord. It's usually found in kids who go to like college, because it's really prevalent in living quarters. So if you're sharing a close quarter with somebody, you can get meningitis, and that can be very, very serious. It can even be fatal. So you really want to be careful. Now, because colleges are usually there's a lot of private colleges, I'm sure that they'll still recommend this. But she said, you know, if you're not going to get the vaccine, got to be careful, and you really got to look for signs and symptoms, which are fever, stiffness of the neck is very, very common in that. So you really want to make sure that you're checking yourself, because that is a serious one that can be fatal. So that's another vaccine. There are, how many did I do? I did 2. So there's...
Out of the 11
out of the 6.
Yeah. No.
So there's 4 others.
There are 4 others.
Can't do math. We're finding everything else.
I was just going to be quiet.
There are 4 others, but they're going to be on our website, and I go through a few other ones too. So there you go.
Meg was expecting me to give her a hard time.
I was expecting you to answer that. I'm like, come on, Nick, you know it.
I was like, I was just going to stay quiet.
Yeah. You're like, yeah. I'm like, please say something.
I'm sorry. I usually don't leave you hanging like that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I just needed to I was like, oh my God, I don't know math.
But no, it's a lot. It's you know, obviously we're laughing, but it is a lot to wrap your arms around, because this is a big overhaul. A lot of people have questions.
Yeah.
We still have questions because we have to do more research into this.
And it's interesting because I did go on, because it's effective immediately, right?
Yeah.
So I went on to NCDHHS to see what the recommendations are, and still not updated on their end. And it's so interesting to see all these vaccines that you know, are recommended and that people should get now are just going to be off the table. So, you know, if you feel like you don't want these vaccines, Dr. Robinson said, you know, you're just going to have to take extra precautions. But if you are vaccinated, because I asked this question too, because I know some parents are nervous about kids going to school with other kids who are not vaccinated. And she said, you know, if you are vaccinated, it should definitely,
be fine.
Yeah, you should be okay. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, When can folks catch the story?
Okay, 5:30
5:30
this afternoon. Yeah.
Meg,
Okay.
as always, thank you again. Very important story. Meg comes in here with some important stories. I always want to point that out. So
I try.
Meg, thank you for your time. Seriously, you can catch Meg's story at 5:30. I remember that.
Yes.
All right. Do we want to take a break, James, or let's take a quick break? We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovant. We want to check in with the New York Stock Exchange. Take a look at this. It's up. Things are up. 500 points. Well, so let me read what's the headline here from CNBC. Dow heads for first close above 49,000 as investors shrug at Venezuela situation. Just reading a little bit more, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose to new heights on today, a day after the index score fresh highs as investors move past the U.S. attack on Venezuela. So that is a live look at the New York Stock Exchange. Let's take a live look at the U.S. Capitol. What's happening right now, House Democrats are holding a hearing on the 5th anniversary of the insurrection at the Capitol, January 6, 2021, 5 years ago today. So that special hearing is happening as we speak, hosted by House Democrats. So let's take a listen in. Let's take a look at what's being said at this moment.
States in holding the federal government accountable for its lawless actions?
Yes, thank you, Congressman. In doing so, I want to thank you all, Congress, for filing an amicus brief in the case where you all spoke to the extremity of what the federal government was asking for. What the federal government was asking for, and essentially in that case, was to ignore Congress and Congress's power given through the militia clauses, to ignore the courts. They basically argued that the president has discretion that's not reviewable by even the courts to deploy the military onto the streets of American cities. I can't overstate how extreme that position, how frightening that position and that argument is. And that's why we took to action, and unfortunately, the Supreme Court denied their motion to stay.
And what should Congress take away from that?
That you should continue to assert your power as Congress. One consistent theme throughout the 48 cases that I mentioned is the administration ignoring what we learned in Schoolhouse Rock, that we have separations of powers and that Congress has been given the authority to appropriate, and Congress has been given the authority to set guidelines for the executive branch to carry out.
Thank you. Appreciate your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. Yield back.
Thank you very much. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Raskin.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all the witnesses. Lieutenant Governor Duncan, you were one of the people being told by Donald Trump, just find me 11,780 votes. That's all I need, right? And he thought it was just a matter of party loyalty. It would be obvious because at that point you were Republican, right? But you didn't think it was a question of party loyalty. You thought it was just a question of where were the votes, counting the actual votes of the people, right? You were one of numerous election officials around the country who refused to buckle under when Trump did that. That wasn't Donald Trump trying to stop election fraud. That was Donald Trump trying to commit election fraud. I wonder if you would give us a little more insight into what your thought process was, and also, what do you think would have happened had you given in and other election officials given in at that point?
Thank you for the question. I think that's the important part to hang on is how, I don't think most Americans recognize or realize how close we were to breaking the back of democracy. I mean, if just a handful of us that had early on were very out front with this saying, look, there's no election fraud, and then all of a sudden we would have checked the brakes at some point and walked up to a microphone and said, you know what, I now do have concerns. The momentum would have shifted and we would have seen chaos. The moves made by Donald Trump and those around him, kind of his MAGA disciples and his administration, were very granular, researched moves, right? They understood the mechanics of what a special session could do, but also they didn't understand the legalities or the constitutionality of why we would have a special session. We would do that to take care of the needs of Georgians, not to investigate some sort of conspiracy theory. I think it's most often when, even to this day, more than 5 years removed, a lot of Republicans walk up to me and they put their arm around me and they look both ways to make sure there's no microphones or cameras, and they'll say, hey, I appreciate you standing up for the right thing. I wish one day I could do it too. And I have two choices. I can either get mad and scream and holler at them and lose my mind in the moment, or I can play the long game and hope they wake up. And I think Republicans as a mass are starting to wake up one by one by one and creating this new way forward.
So when all that failed, then Trump went to Mike Pence, to his own vice president, and he tried to get him to exercise imaginary powers to nullify electoral college votes on the floor of the House, including Georgia's. At that point, he basically just said, discredit these results and we've got you a slate of counterfeit electors. Use those instead. Do people in Georgia understand that this was not only violence, but this was a massive assault on voting rights? It was an attempt to steal the voice of the people of Georgia in the election.
I think some do, but not all. It's unfortunate. That's part of the frustrating process that all of these pardons have come out. The gentleman I spoke about, Burt Jones, who is his chief cheerleader and is now the current lieutenant governor, was just recently pardoned. He was the ringleader of the fake electors group and this effort to create a special session. It was a very granular effort, as I mentioned earlier, and it's unfortunate. And in America, Americans are paying the price. As I said in my testimony, Americans day by day, if you're waking up and can't afford your groceries, that's a problem.
Yeah. Final question for the other two witnesses. But both of you are on the front lines of defending our freedom, defending our democracy in court. And we're winning overwhelmingly in the federal district courts and in the federal appeals courts. And people have to understand the rule of law is holding there. The big problem is we get up to the Roberts Court's emergency docket, the shadow docket, and it's like the twilight zone for justice there. Tell us how you are maintaining hope and faith through this process and what you're telling people about still the persisting fundamental importance of defending rights in court and treating our federal judiciary with the respect that it's traditionally deserved.
Well, Congressman, I draw some hope from Illinois v. Trump in the Supreme Court case that I've been referring to for a couple of reasons. Although the court did not address the issue of reviewability, which I thought it should, because this notion that the president has this authority to deploy the military and the courts don't have authority to review it is a very extreme notion. But one of the things that I think that many missed is footnote 4 in the case, which is Justice Kavanaugh taking a step backwards from his prior position that, in essence, race can be used as a notion for immigration stops, and that he took the time in that footnote to explicitly take a step back gives me a sense of hope.
The ability of the American people to initiate litigation against their government, as you know, Ranking Member Raskin, is an incredible right and power that people have. And what we see in court after court is it's not just the court decisions, and we are winning in the vast majority of these cases because the president's policies are so extreme. But it's not just the court decisions. It's individual Americans stepping up to the plate and saying, I'm going to require a public accounting of what my government is doing to me because I have rights. And what we have seen is that this administration, in many instances, has backed off of a number of the cases that we are bringing in court once we win, or even sometimes before we win, because the people are using their voices. It helps when you all use your voices too here in Congress. We are seeing that the vast majority of these cases are not going to the Supreme Court. And then, of course, when they do go to the Supreme Court, it has not been a complete, it hasn't been sort of a complete losing record on behalf of people and communities, but it is concerning. But I will say that this is a place on the shadow docket where Congress really does have a role, and you've been a champion of asking these questions. Congress has a role and can have a role in the future in asking questions and in checking the way the Supreme Court is managing its dockets. It is not American, it is not consistent with the way the judicial process is supposed to work to have a Supreme Court that is issuing orders unexplained to the American people, overriding explained decisions from judges. And by the way, judges that all presidents have.
All right, well, let's come back here at home. Let's take a step aside and let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Well, happening right now at the Capitol, we're hearing from Republican lawmakers there in D.C. Let's take you now to Republican Senator John Thune. Let's take a listen to what he's saying.
Businesses to invest, make capital investments in this country, whether that's bonus depreciation, interest deductibility, R&D expensing, the 199A deduction, permanent death tax relief, something that I worked on. Those are all investments that are going to pay off, because what they're going to lead to is higher paying jobs, better wages for people in this country, more money in their pocket to take care of themselves and their families. And the other thing that was included in that, and you're starting now to see as a result of some of the things that we did, the reforms taking place, dealing with, for example, a Medicaid SNAP program, work requirements, eligibility checks, making sure that immigrants, illegal immigrants, are not getting the benefit of some of these programs. Those were all things that were also included in that piece of legislation that we passed last summer. And that's really coming into focus now because of what's happening in the state of Minnesota. We are seeing up close and personal a real example of how some of these government programs are taken advantage of, and benefits delivered to people who are not eligible. Our whole goal in that legislation last summer was to make sure that the people who are supposed to benefit from government assistance actually do benefit, and it's not being abused and gamed by states and people around this country. So we think there are just benefits that are going to continue to play out through the course of this next year for the American people, and we think this year, when they start filing their tax returns, it's going to be a good day for them, because they're going to have a lot more money in their pocket than they would have if the Democrats had their way and we weren't able to get the tax cuts, the Working Families Tax Cuts bill passed into law.
Leader.
Yep.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Happy New Year. When the president talks about Cuba, talks about Colombia, and he talks about Greenland, is that just bluster, or do you take him at his word?
Well, I think the president has demonstrated, at least already, a very strong commitment to peace through strength, and especially in this hemisphere. And I think Venezuela delivered or got that message loudly and clearly. And I think other countries in this hemisphere who are cooperating with narco-terrorists or in league with China and Russia and Iran and countries like that need to be on notice. And so I think the president's, this is not idle threats. I think his indication is that the United States is going to take care of America's vital national security interests, and that people in this region of the world ought to be working constructively with us to ensure that that happens. And in the case of the narco-terrorists, it's protecting a lot of Americans from the poisonous impact of illegal drugs coming into this country, or again, becoming a safe harbor for energy interested by countries like Russia and China and Iran.
So you take him at his word.
Do you think the White House on their website said put blame in part on Capitol Police for the violence that happened on January 6th 5 years ago? I'm curious whether or not you agree with the assessment on their website that says they're provocative tactics which are a peaceful demonstration into chaos. Do you think the Capitol Police is partly to blame for the violence on the day?
I haven't seen what they put on their website, but the Capitol Police do a great job around here. This Friday is Law Enforcement Day, and we will honor and express our appreciation and gratitude to the men and women who serve in law enforcement across this country, including the Capitol Police, who protect this building on a daily basis.
Venezuela. Do you think that any health care deal to address these health insurance premiums rising has to include some form of the Crapo-Cassidy proposal to establish HSAs? Democrats aren't thrilled about it. Will Republicans insist on some form of HSAs being part of the deal?
I think any deal that ultimately comes together that could get the necessary votes in the Senate. Can't speak for the House, and obviously the White House is going to have their own views on this too. But to get a majority in the United States Senate, and a healthy majority, I would think, one, you would have to have reforms. So you'd have to deal with the income limits. You'd have to deal with the $0 premium issue and make sure that everybody at least is paying something for coverage, so that the insurance companies can't game it and auto-enroll people and then have the money flow directly to them. And then the third the second component would be some sort of a bridge to HSAs, an expansion of HSAs so that you're getting more money into the pockets of the American people, the patients, if you will, the consumers, as opposed to the insurance companies. And then finally, you've got to deal with the height issue. I mean, those, I think, are the kind of the big three when it comes to something that could get through the Senate. And I know there are discussions going on right now with some of our members. We'll see where that goes. Ultimately, we want to ensure that if we do anything, it's done in a way that reforms these programs and protects ensures that those dollars aren't being used to go against the practice that's been in place for the last 50 years around here when it comes to taxpayer dollars being used to finance abortions. And that it also has this movement in the future toward HSAs and more utilization of those.
Venezuela. Thank you. On Venezuela, President Trump has said he expects the U.S. to spend billions on the Venezuelan oil infrastructure, and that he expects to work with U.S. oil companies, meeting with them, and pay them back. How do you see using U.S. money, and do you think the Senate is ready to pass that? I assume you think that the Senate wants to approve that for that, and also to Frank's earlier question, do you think Capitol Police have a role in causing two-party?
Well, first, on Venezuela, my view is that the Venezuela energy industry, which is in cahoots with China and Russia, is now going to need to start working constructively with the United States and with energy companies here. And what will happen if that actually takes place is that you will start seeing the people of Venezuela benefit from the energy industry instead of having the folks that they're in league with in China and Russia. So my view is that it's not going to be a cost to the American taxpayer. This ought to be revenue coming into this country if we're working in a way with Venezuela, and hopefully that an energy supply, a commodity that can benefit the Venezuelan people, which is something that I think they should derive some benefit from. And right now, their leadership, because they are corrupt and in bed with narco-terrorists and in bed with China and Russia, the people in that country are now seeing the benefit of something that they got, an energy resource in this country that ought to be to their benefit. And again, I would just say, with respect to, we all here support 100% Capitol Police and the job that they do around here on a daily basis.
All right, so that was Senate Republican Senator, I should say, John Thune, answering a variety of questions from the anniversary of the January 6th insurrection to the ongoing conflict in Venezuela. All right, so let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We are at the bottom of the hour, 2:30. Thank you for hanging with us. So we want to go now live, underway, happening right now, the first criminal trial over the response to the deadly 2022 Uvalde school shooting against former police officer Adrian Gonzalez, beginning with opening statements. Let's take a listen into what's happening right now.
Do you know that the government and us, we agree that that was Adrian Gonzalez in that vehicle?
Okay, I didn't know who it was.
Did you know before you testified today?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, that was Adrian Gonzalez in that vehicle.
Okay.
So Adrian Gonzalez was driving really fast towards the school. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
Now I want to direct your attention to those 3 officers that you just realized showed up to the scene. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now you got a chance to see the video. You saw that those 3 officers stopped on that corner.
Yes, sir.
You also know that you were on the phone telling 911 the severity of the circumstance, correct?
Correct.
And you were sharing that information on 911 before those 3 officers showed up to that corner.
That's correct.
And you have no personal knowledge why those officers stopped there.
No, sir, because again, I didn't see them. I guess my attention was facing the school so I can report it to 911.
Did you ever see those officers get out of their vehicle?
No, sir.
I'm not going to ask you how long they stayed there because you didn't see them until today, right?
Correct.
Okay. But you saw on the video that at some point in time, those 3 officers did not follow Adrian on the campus. They drove away.
Correct.
And you saw in the video that they showed up not long after Adrian drove really fast towards the school.
Correct.
I thought I heard you say on direct examination that you were telling somebody, I thought you said you were telling an officer that the shooter had entered the school. Did I hear that wrong?
No, you heard that correctly.
What officer did you tell that to?
I don't know the name of the officer. It was the officer that parked close to the entrance of the door where the shooter had entered through.
So I want to be clear. May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
I'm going to use State's Exhibit. Is this 1, Bill? Stage 1. Can you see this, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you saying that you told, are you saying there was an officer that parked, because this is the west side of the building where the shooter entered, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're at, is this the funeral home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any idea how far that is?
No, sir.
Okay, that's fine. It's a decent distance.
It's a distance, yes, sir. But I wasn't I was not in the close to the door of the funeral home. I was closer towards the parking lot. I don't know if you saw in the video where I walked outside. So when I was doing a lot of the explaining, telling the officers where I was at, I was towards the middle of the parking lot.
Your parking lot or
the parking lot of the funeral home.
So right here.
Right about there, yes,
So
sir.
this is for the jury. This is Geraldine Street, correct?
Correct.
And this Geraldine Street, it goes. If this is north, east, west, south, kind of towards the northwest of the school, all the way north.
Correct.
Okay. And so is it fair to say, or you tell me, where were you standing? Were you standing maybe here?
Not there, a little bit further, more towards up the, yeah, right about there, a little bit up.
And so you're saying that there was an officer that stopped here?
Not there, no, sir.
Where did the officer stop?
The officer, may I approach?
May he approach, Judge?
Yes.
The first police officer that I saw that was Uvalde Police Department, he parked right here, and that's where I was at, because I was telling him that the shooter had gone through this door.
So you're standing this close to this? Okay. So you're saying that the officer was here, you're standing here, correct?
Correct, I was actually right in this area, when the officer parked right here, and I was yelling at him, telling him that the shooter had gone through there.
Is that when you were still on 911?
I think so.
Okay, so do you have any time of the time frame of when that was?
So unfortunately, I was not aware of any time.
Now, Is it fair to say that that officer, whoever that officer was, and do you have any idea, could it have been these officers here?
It could have been.
Now, do you have any idea, or let me say, you agree, that this officer, whoever it was, did not run to the school?
Correct. I didn't.
So this officer, you told him very clearly that you saw, not the general location, that you saw exactly where the shooter entered, correct?
Correct. And I think if you hear the 911 call, you hear me telling them the officer, he went through that door.
Well, I did hear that. I think we all did, and that's why I'm asking you this question. But we just don't know which officer you're talking to, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so but you told an officer, because we can hear you in real time on 911, he went through this specific door.
Yes, sir.
You didn't say he's in this general location.
No.
You said, sir, he went through that, but we heard what you said.
Yes, sir.
And that officer did not make their way directly to that door.
Correct.
So is it fair to say that officer did not breach this door? Breach meaning go through the door?
Go through the door, no.
Did you get a chance to see where that officer went?
No, sir.
But by this time, and this is fairly quickly, this time there's a number of officers there.
That is correct.
And now that you know, once Adrian Gonzalez drives into the campus, you never make eyes on him, correct?
No, sir.
You never see what he's
Where
doing
he
or
went,
not
no,
doing.
no, sir.
You never saw him come around to the west side of the door,
No,
west side of the school.
No, sir.
You never saw a female come to the west side of the school.
No, sir.
But what you do know for sure is that you told an officer exactly what door the shooter went in, and that officer did not follow him in.
Correct.
And it wasn't the same officer, Adrian Gonzalez, that drove behind the school towards the danger.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Limones. Pass the witness, Judge.
No further questions?
Subject to recall, either side?
We can release him.
He's fine to be released, Judge.
He can be released.
Okay, sir, you are released from the subpoena. The rule has been invoked, so I'd ask you not to talk to anybody about the case until you're aware the trial is over with. But you're free to go, not subject to recall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your next witness.
Jason Shea.
You want swearing right here or over there? There's fine.
All right, let's take a step aside and let's take a break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. So underway right now, the trial of a former Uvalde, Texas school police officer. Now, opening statements were made or underway and were made today in the trial of that former officer, accused of not doing more to save lives in the 2022 massacre that left 19 students and 2 teachers dead. Adrian Gonzalez has pleaded not guilty to 29 counts of child abandonment or endangerment following the attack at Robb Elementary School. If he is convicted, he would be sentenced to the max of 2 years in prison if he's convicted again. Again, that trial is underway. We heard opening statements earlier. Right now on the stand, happening live, there is a Texas Ranger on the stand. Let's take a listen in.
Casings had the primer strikes. Also, the serial numbers on guns, you can track those at times.
So as a result of that, have you also had to learn just the basic mechanics of how a bullet is fired and what happens inside a bullet when it is fired?
Yes.
Let's see. May I approach you, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Entering Exhibit 2 to the defense. We'd offer Exhibit 2 for the demonstrative purposes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted for that purpose.
And may the witness approach the
Yes, sir.
exhibit. Would you tell us what we're looking at in State's Exhibit 2, please? And make sure people on our side is okay. So if you need this to help you point things out,
Sure.
keep you out of...
So basically, this is your bullet with your casing and your projectile. The back of the bullet where the primer or the firing pin strikes, which then enacts and creates some type of explosion that would impact the black powder that's inside, and then it projects, and that expansion of gas projects the bullet or the
So when we hear a shot go off, what are we hearing?
You're hearing the expansion of the gas in there.
And that's from the gunpowder igniting?
Correct.
Okay. And then the primer, would you explain to us what the primer is?
That's just where the when it's placed inside the weapon, it strikes that, which causes fire that does the gunpowder. Excuse me.
Now, is there anything about what is on a bullet casing that helps you identify manufacturers or those kind of things?
Sure. Back here in this area right here, there is usually the manufacturer, what type of ammunition it is.
And is that sometimes helpful in a crime scene?
Sure.
To track down who originally manufactured that?
Yes.
And can you compare it if there's more than one person firing a shot?
Sure, and then you're going to look at the primer strikes and how that it is struck, and then how the casing goes through the barrel, or when it's put into the barrel, there's markings in the weapon. Each weapon is pretty much unique, and that's how they would be able to track that.
And as far as manufacturing, then where do they print that?
Back here, usually.
And by looking at that, then you can tell if empty casings then
Sure,
are
like this one says 9mm, so you would suspect that would be a 9mm.
Okay. Now, when a bullet is fired, could you just demonstrate what happens to the parts of the bullet? Where do they go and what happens?
Sure. This will stay inside the weapon itself until it's ejected from the weapon. Of course, the primer is part of that shell casing, and the part that comes out is this part right there. So the bullet or the projectile.
Bullet or projectile is what you call it. That goes out and that does the damage.
Correct.
And the casing, does it matter what kind of weapon is being used as to where the casing goes?
Yes. So a revolver that doesn't eject it would stay in there, and then a semi-automatic weapon would eject that.
And what is a semi-automatic weapon?
One that can shoot multiple rounds.
Okay. And so what happens when a semi-automatic weapon is fired?
It will First of all, the bullet is in there. Once it's fired, it's ejected out to the side, usually.
The mechanisms of the rifle itself will eject.
Pulls it out, ejects it out, and then loads another one back in.
And so is that one of the things you're looking for when you're looking at a crime scene?
Sure, because if there's not any ejected shell casings, then it could be a revolver that's involved.
And if there are ejected shell casings, that can tell you...
More likely that it's a semi-automatic or that person dumped that ammunition out.
And because the casing's there, can you also inspect it to see who manufactured it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Ranger, have you had experience of doing crime scene investigations in additional active shooter situations?
Not in an additional active shooter situation, no, sir.
You have not done crime scenes in active shooter?
No.
How about mass shootings?
No.
And did you work in Sutherland Springs?
No, sir.
Okay. Is this the first time you've been to an active shooter crime scene?
Yes.
And how did you arrive at the scene?
By vehicle. I was in Del Rio at the time when we got a call that there was a possible active shooter in Uvalde and responded from Del Rio.
And how far is Del Rio from Uvalde?
A good distance. I was there on a deployment for the border operations, so I'm not familiar with that area. I actually followed some other individuals to that location.
How long does it take you to get from Del Rio to Uvalde?
I think it took us approximately about an hour to get there.
Okay. And when you got there, what did you do?
I had just finished a shift doing border operations, so I was actually in shorts and a t-shirt. I threw on my gear. I was parked down the street, and when I arrived, the street to get there to the school was blocked by vehicles. And the ambulance pulled up and said, "We've got to get these vehicles out of there." So I instructed Highway Patrol to start ramming vehicles off the road, patrol cars, so they could have an entrance to get there to the school. About that time, then other officers, knowing that their vehicles were going to get rammed off the road, came out and moved their vehicles so the ambulance could arrive.
Okay. And eventually did you go in before the breach occurred?
Yes.
And did the breach occur while you were in there?
Yes.
And do you know who was involved in the breach of the classrooms at Robb Elementary?
There were multiple officers. The Border Patrol BORTAC team was the TL there was the lead over that stack.
And what does BORTAC mean?
It's a border operations tactical team for the Border Patrol.
Okay. They actually led the breach, is that
Yes.
correct? Were you given assignments then as far as the crime scene at Robb Elementary?
So being the first ranger or one of the rangers that was on the scene, we cleared the crime scene to make sure everybody was out and nothing was contaminated at that point. That was secured, and then I was asked to, at some point, to go photograph the vehicle that the suspect had been involved in with his accident before he made entry into the school.
And did you photograph
Yes.
the crime scene? Give me one.
All right, so happening right now, you're taking a live look at that trial that's underway.
Yes.
It looks like they're talking right now, but again, just to give you a little bit of context of what's happening, it is the trial for the former Uvalde, Texas school police officer accused of not doing more to save lives in 2022. During that massacre, that left 19 students and 2 teachers dead. Let's take you back there now. And again, just to remind you, there's a Texas Ranger on the witness stand. Let's take a listen in.
What are the numbers again?
50 to 84 is what I meant.
All right, so we are going to take a step aside and we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We are approaching the top of the hour. We want to take you now to Washington, D.C., where we are hearing from Senate Democrats. Just moments ago, we heard from Senate Republicans. Let's take you there now to the Capitol.
Does it get Germany or Czechoslovakia as well, or the Czech Republic as well, within their so-called sphere of influence? This is why this kind of chaotic, by the seat of the pants foreign policy, not only does it turn potentially partners in Central and South America against us, but it scares the hell out of all of our allies in terms of our commitment.
Leader Schumer. Thank you. On government funding here, when we talk about appropriations, though, why not then go to that? I understand what you're saying about the Kane resolution. I understand. Is there concern that you might have a government shutdown if you guys try to cut off funding for Venezuela?
We're focused on the Kane resolution. That's the best way to go, and that's what we're focused on.
Why not use the power of the purse?
Please get your response to the president's recent rhetoric and threats toward Colombia, Iraq, Greenland, and Cuba, and ask Congress to make mistakes by giving them too much war power to the executive branch of the union.
Well, look, ask our Republican colleagues that. We've tried several war power resolutions. We've gotten a few people to join them, but not enough. And it's needed now more than ever with a reckless president. A president who was just reckless when it comes to foreign policy. It's sort of fly by the seat of your pants. In that briefing, I said, it's hope for the best, but they don't have any plans. You can't do things that way. And so War Powers Act is extremely, extremely important.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
On the issue of these other nation states, Maduro lost in 24. I wish the previous administration had done more to push him out at that point. But when you start talking about Colombia and Mexico, they're nations that had democratic elections. And we're going to somehow say we're going to superimpose our position on democratically elected states. What message does that send to the world? And the whole notion, I think the first few months, people kind of joked about Greenland. But the idea that he's potentially posing a serious military threat, nothing would lead to the absolute destruction of NATO more than American aggressive action against a long-term ally like Denmark.
I asked for some assurances that they were not planning operations in other countries, and I named a few of the ones you mentioned, including Colombia and Cuba, and I was very, very disappointed in their answer. Thank you, everybody.
All right, so that was Senate Democrat speaking there. We want to go back now to the trial that's underway for the former Uvalde, Texas officer back in 2022. That massacre there at Robb Elementary School there in Texas unfolded. So many students, teachers that lost their lives there, that officer being charged. Let's take a listen to it.
And then the school was over here to your right.
Thank you. Exhibit 52.
Just a different perspective of that same vehicle with the school in the background.
Okay. And this was taken on the same day of the offense, May 24, 2022? Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes, sir.
Exhibit 53.
Close-up photograph of that same vehicle.
And the condition of the windows in Exhibit 53.
I believe the ones that passenger side had been were shattered.
On the passenger side,
Yes, sir.
front window was shattered. And Exhibit 54.
Just some of the barriers, and then some projectiles or shell casings or bullets, however you want to call it, there by the fence.
And would you point those out because they're kind of small there?
Yes. Yeah.
And had those bullets been fired?
No, sir.
So they were still live rounds?
Correct.
And when you say a barrier, is that another name for a fence?
Yeah, so you had your fence over here, but you had the barriers from, I believe, from where he had struck that barrier when he entered in that culvert.
Oh, the way the culvert comes down?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Thank you. And State's Exhibit 55.
So just another photograph of that vehicle.
Does that give us a better shot of the front right?
The front of the vehicle where you can see where it had crashed through that barrier and then vaulted into that culvert.
Does that also show the front right window, its condition?
Yes.
And its condition was what?
Broken. You can see the glass right here. So it had been rolled up at the time when it was when it broke.
Very good. State's Exhibit 56.
The same photograph from the rear of the vehicle. You can tell the direction the vehicle was coming from with its marks from the tire.
And on the right side of the vehicle, could you describe what we see there?
Yes, sir. There is a black bag here.
And did it have evidentiary value?
Yes, there was a long rifle or a rifle inside of it.
A long rifle or a rifle?
A rifle.
Okay. State's Exhibit 57.
It's a close-up photograph of the rifle in the bag.
Was that then the condition it was in when you saw it?
Yes.
Exhibit 58.
There you go. So just another photograph of that weapon. And then you also see magazines with live rounds up here in the right. You can also see where that glass was on top of the bag from that window.
Okay. This may be the first time we've heard the word magazine with your testimony. Explain to us what a magazine is.
A magazine is inserted into the weapon from the bottom of this area right here, and it's usually loaded with other live ammunition. And so when the gun is fired, the semi-automatic, it ejects the shell casing that had been fired, and it automatically loads up another bullet from the magazine.
Exhibit 59.
So once we opened up that bag, we laid out all the magazines that were there and photographed that.
And how many cartridges does one of those magazines hold?
Usually anywhere 28 to 30.
20 to 30 rounds? So 20 or 30 rounds can be fired without the gun being reloaded?
Correct. It loads itself, yes, sir.
And then what does it take to reload the weapon?
You have to eject a magazine and insert another magazine.
And about how long does that take?
Depends on how proficient somebody is. It can take seconds.
Just seconds, a matter of seconds?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And number 60.
Just a photograph of those magazines with live cartridges in there.
So does that indicate the magazines were full?
Or had been loaded, yes, sir.
And how many magazines are depicted there?
6.
Thank you. Exhibit 61.
Open the door of that passenger side and photograph the inside of the vehicle.
And on the passenger seat, is there a magazine there also?
Yes, sir, right here. That had rounds inside of it.
And it had rounds in it also?
Yes, sir.
States Exhibit 62.
Another magazines with live rounds inside of it. That was in the floorboard.
Front floorboard?
Yes, sir, of the passenger side.
Thank you. 63.
Looks like it's the same photograph. So we had emptied out or looked for identification to see who had insurance on the vehicle or if the vehicle was registered to someone. And so we placed those out by that cell phone that's located right here. In that same magazine that with the live rounds, just to see who the owner of the vehicle was or potential.
And did you activate that magazine to aid you and assist you as to whose telephone that was?
Can you repeat that question?
Did you activate the phone, or did the phone activate?
Yeah, when we picked up the phone, the front screen popped up.
And is that what a photograph of Exhibit 64 is?
Yes.
And are you able to read from that phone, from this photograph?
Yes, I am.
And could you repeat what you read on the top
It's
line,
an
please?
Instagram post from an individual, Ella Packer, 69. Yeah, they killed them, and he killed his grandma. He shot her 24 times. He's going to hell.
Okay.
Then there was just another Instagram, somebody's following you, a TikTok, somebody liked the video, somebody took a screenshot, Apple News, and then somebody appeared to try to call this individual.
Thank you. Did you see the gunman that day, or did you ever see a photograph of him?
No.
Okay, so you can't tell us whether or not this was the gunman?
No.
You can just say this was the car in which there was an automatic weapon found just outside it?
Yes.
Thank you. State's Exhibit 65.
So the back passenger view photograph inside, there's a little blood right here on the seat. Appeared to might have been some blood on the center console, and then another magazine with live ammunition inside of it. Also you can see that the airbags had deployed on the driver's steering column.
And what causes an airbag to deploy?
An impact to the front of the vehicle.
Okay.
Which is consistent with what we saw.
Fair enough. 66.
A couple more magazines. So I'd already pointed out one of them. There's 3 more there. The tire iron and a couple other items.
So we had 6 outside, and these are additional magazines?
So six outside, 2 in the front that we saw, and then there's another 4, and then I think there's another one in the back seat. So it's 12, 13 at this time.
Holding a capacity of 20 or 30 rounds or somewhere in between?
Yes, sir.
Exhibit 67.
Same photograph. It looked like, I don't know what that is, something with the vehicle, but then there's another magazine and a spent shell casing there and a live round there.
And is there both a live round and a fired casing there?
Correct, a live round and a fired round.
And how can you tell the distinction?
You can see that projectile of that bullet right there, and on this one there's not one. So we know that had been fired, or appeared to be fired.
So that indicates that a bullet had been fired somewhere around or near that vehicle?
Don't know, just that there was a shell casing there and that bullet had been potentially
And would
fired.
it be consistent with the weapon that you saw outside the vehicle for a casing to be ejected from that weapon upon it being fired?
Yes.
In other words, it wasn't a revolver?
It wasn't a revolver, it was a semi-automatic rifle.
So you would expect the casing to be ejected?
Correct.
And Exhibit 68.
So a zoomed in photograph, next photograph.
I'm sorry, this thing's
No.
not always working. There you go.
Yeah, you can see where it appears to be burnt kind of on the end from the expansion of the gas, the burning of the gas and it appeared that that primer had been struck, which initiates the firing of it.
Indicating again it had been fired.
Yes.
And Exhibit 69.
A live showcasing, you can see that the bullet is still there.
The bullet on the end indicates it has not been fired.
Correct.
Exhibit 70.
I lifted up that seat and you could see where there was a jack there from the vehicle.
And in the door facing of the back seat, is there any evidentiary value there?
Yes, there's a spent showcasing right there.
And you say spent, once again, that means it was fired?
Excuse me.
And Exhibit 71?
A zoomed in photograph of that one.
And 72?
I believe that's going to be the front driver's seat, a magazine that had been loaded with cartridges inside of it.
Okay, so this is still an additional casing? I mean, a magazine?
Magazine, yes, sir.
And once again, fully
I think
loaded?
we're around 14, I believe.
Thank you. And 73?
The driver's seat, we know that's because of the airbag right there, and then two live bullets there in the driver's seat.
74?
A zoomed in photograph of both of those.
And finally, 75 down, I guess, toward the middle of the screen?
Same magazine that we had noted earlier, and then two more showcasings or cartridges right there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
When we talk about weapons and ammunition, what does the word caliber mean to you?
It's the that ammunition, a caliber goes with that type of gun. So if you had a .308 caliber rifle, it would shoot .308 ammunition. A 9mm would shoot a 9mm. It's the size of the weapon.
And so what caliber was this ammunition?
.223.
And is a .223, can it be fired in a 9mm weapon?
No.
And vice versa?
No.
And so if you find .223 casings, the indication is it was fired from a .223 weapon?
Correct.
And by the same token, if you find a 9mm casing, it indicates that it was fired by a 9mm weapon?
If it was spent or had been fired, then yes, it would have been shot from a 9mm.
And once again, that would be if it was a semi-automatic that ejected the casing as opposed to a revolver?
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. Stacy's Exhibit 12, if you'll just take a quick look at that.
May I?
Yes. You testified that you found 2 live casings in the truck that you did the search on. Does that appear to be the same?
2 live?
Fired casings?
Yes.
Thank you for correcting that.
Yes, sir. These would be fired casings.
Thank you. The state offers Exhibit 12.
Break. Hey guys, here on WCNC Plus inside the Impact Studio. I'm Colin Mayfield taking over for Nick Sturdivant. Just wanted to chime in here as there was some dead space. Still hearing some opening statements throughout this trial here in Corpus Christi. We do want to go back to this as this officer is on trial. Adrian Gonzalez is the person, not necessarily this man on camera, but we were just hearing this individual giving us testimony. So we're going to go back to this in real time, and we'll take a break in a couple of minutes.
Okay. And you didn't bring them?
No, sir, I did not.
We'll save that for another witness then. I couldn't either, that's why I asked you.
Is he need just cheaters or what?
Yes.
You want to try to give us some?
Hey, if it'll work, it'll work.
I want some cheaters.
Don't break them, there wasn't good.
We'll give it one more try. but
All right.
We got younger people coming with better eyes.
I thought my sight was bad.
No, I can't.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't. I'm sorry.
That's all right, not a problem.
I appreciate it.
Right by your book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's try these. Keep trying. Of course, they're pink.
Hey, pink will work. I think that'll work.
Really?
Says LC 22.
Bill, if you want to read it, we'll agree.
Is it LC 223?
Yes, sir.
Would that be consistent with what's fired from those semi-automatic weapons?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And LC stands for the manufacturer?
Yes, sir.
223 is the count.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Please.
Pass the witness.
Please.
Good afternoon, Ranger.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I wasn't expecting that accent.
I know. I'm sorry about that. So, so my name's Gary Hilly. We've not met before.
No, sir, we have not.
And so you understand, you've done this a lot before, right?
Yes, sir.
So you understand I'm one of the attorneys representing Adrian,
Yes, sir.
right? And,
Yes, sir.
You know I've got to ask you some questions.
Sure.
And you testified loads of times.
A couple of times. Yes, sir.
A couple of times. So I'm not going to ask you anything you haven't been asked before. So if I tend to speak too fast, so if I do, you just tell me to slow down, and if you need me to repeat something, say, Gary, go again.
Sounds good. Thanks, sir.
And so I wanted to, let's go back to the beginning of your testimony. So, do I address you as Ranger or Lieutenant, just to start off with?
Whatever's good with you or Jason. That's just fine.
So if I just call you Ranger, is that good enough? Is that
That's
respectful
perfect.
enough?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so Ranger, I want to talk to you a bit about your training experience, because you've been, did you say you've been in law enforcement since 1998?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for your service. We appreciate you. So that's a lot of experience.
A little bit. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, so you and look, I mean, I wrote some of it down. You've done a lot of things. You've been you're a crime scene investigator, right?
Yes, sir.
You've been a firearms instructor. Are you still a firearms instructor?
Yes, sir.
So how long have you been doing that?
Since probably 2002.
So you've been doing that?
A little bit of time. Yes, sir.
That's 23 years, 24 years now, right?
Yes, sir.
Nearly a quarter of a century. So you've got a lot of experience in the world of firearms and instruction in firearms.
Yes, sir.
But of course, I guess you said that you worked for were you a DPS trooper at the start?
Yes, sir.
And so at some point you have to go through some kind of academy.
Yes, sir.
All right. And they teach you basic police tactics or ranger tactics, right?
Basic police tactics. Yes, sir.
And because if you hadn't had any police experience before, or law enforcement experience before, that's where they teach you the basic stuff.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And so when we talk about basic stuff, we're talking about report writing.
Yes, sir.
Some knowledge of the penal code.
Yes, sir.
Stuff like that. Driving.
Yes, sir.
Right. Weapon handling.
Yes, sir.
And some tactics that go around basic policing.
Yes, sir.
Right. And you like I said, one of the basic things he's doing is report writing, right?
Yes.
Because reports are important.
Yes, sir.
Right, because you try and make them fair, I would imagine, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you try to include details in them.
Yes, sir.
Because on like an occasion like today, this incident was 3 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Right, so did you prepare a report about this incident?
We prepared many reports about this incident.
Okay. And have you reviewed any today?
No, sir, I have not today.
Have you reviewed any in preparation for your testimony?
More of the photographs is what I reviewed, a statement, and then many of the interviews that I had done.
So let's talk about, so when you say a statement,
yes, sir.
You said a statement. Is that a statement that you made, or?
No, it was based off of an interview that I had done.
So, because you also did interviews in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. We'll talk about that in a little while. But do you recall how many reports you authored in this case?
No, most of the reports that I authored were based off the interviews that I had conducted.
So, okay, well, let me go a different way then. So your investigation of this scene, we've established that you went to the scene, and we'll talk about that. I'm talking about the photographs that Mr. Turner's got here, if I may, Bill. Can I borrow those for a second? Are they the right ones?
they're right here.
They're the wrong ones. Can I borrow them for a second?
Yes.
So you're on my approach, the witness? Yeah. So your investigation of this incident is kind of documented in these photographs, is that
Yes,
fair
sir.
to say? So you didn't do a written report? Or
No.
I guess type now, right?
No, correct. Yes, sir. Most of mine was documented by the photographs.
So I guess traditionally you'd have done, back when you started, it was probably a handwritten report, right?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and now it would be a typed report.
Correct.
So your testimony here today is you didn't do that, you just documented your work through photographs.
Other individuals documented it. Mine were through the photographs.
Yeah, your work. So
Yes.
your work was done through these photographs.
Correct.
All right, okay, cool. So I want to make sure that make sure we're not missing anything with,
No,
with
sir.
reports or anything like that. Okay. So let's talk about your job as because it sounds like you were a firearms instructor before you were a crime scene investigator.
So, and I say crime scene investigator, I'm a ranger. We usually process most of our crime scenes. So not a crime scene investigator, but more as a ranger. That's one of our duties.
So like dual purpose, you're multitasking, it would be fair to say that you are investigating, but you're also processing the scene yourself.
Correct, yes, sir.
Whereas I guess sort of what would happen, sometimes a local PD will come, and patrol officers or detective will come to a scene, and they will call in crime scene folks, and they will process the scene.
Correct. As a ranger, we usually do our own.
You can't do both. So when did you specialise in the firearms, before or after you started?
All right, people, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll come back to this trial in session down in Texas. See you in 2. And we are back. Right now, there is a former Uvalde police officer, Adrian Gonzalez, who is on the stand accused of child endangerment during the Robb Elementary School shooting in May of 2022. Excuse me, not on the stand, but inside the courtroom. And this is what this trial is on. We do have somebody who's giving testimony to what happened that day, so we're going to listen in right now.
The principle's exactly the same.
Yes, sir.
Right. Although this, because it would have, these, see that? In 12, this has more powder.
Correct.
So, because you said earlier, and we'll go back to the diagram here.
Gary, I can't see it. You show it.
Can you see it? Oh, you can't see it.
You show it.
I'm trying to get these out without handling them. I feel very... I'll handle them. You mind if I touch them?
I don't mind.
So Nico's going to show the jury the rounds there. So you'd agree, I guess, these are longer than a normal 9mm round, which is what's portrayed here.
Correct,
So
yes,
that,
sir.
that round is fired out of a longer barreled weapon.
Yes, sir.
Right, and I say round, a round of ammunition.
Correct.
Because that right now is a cartridge. So this is a round of ammunition.
Yes, sir.
Right. This thing here is the projectile.
Yes, sir.
Like the bit on the end. That gets, this primer gets struck by the firing pin.
Yes, sir.
Right. You pull the trigger. The spring squeezes. Eventually, the firing pin goes forward, and it strikes this pin.
Correct.
And you quite rightly said people think it creates an explosion.
Yes.
And it's really like a very fast burn.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
And
that's what ignites the gunpowder.
Ignites the gunpowder in this cartridge and forces the projectile out the barrel.
Correct.
Right. And so this cartridge is the thing that carries the charge or the powder.
Correct.
The longer the charge or the cartridge, the faster it travels.
Should be.
And
Yes.
if you add that to a barrel, which makes it spin, it's even more deadly, right? That projectile
Correct.
is
More
even
accurate.
deadly.
Yes, sir.
More accurate. It can travel faster, and it can travel further distances.
Yes, sir.
So that round there is now potentially in the right weapon is much more dangerous than a round fired out of like a 9mm weapon.
It's going to be more powerful.
More
Yes, sir.
powerful, so therefore more dangerous. More power equals more velocity.
Correct.
More velocity equals more speed.
Yes.
More speed means more danger.
Potentially. Yes, sir.
Right, potentially. So, and then what happens with these is that the round gets fired and the projectile gets thrown out the end of the barrel, right, gets pushed, spirals down the barrel, and then goes towards its target.
Correct.
Okay? And then the weapon recycles.
Yes, sir.
Earlier. So the weapon will cycle, the receiver or some of the action will go forward, then come backwards on itself.
Correct.
And that's what throws the ejected cartridge out.
Correct.
Because just want to clear that up. So it throws, and depending on the ejector that's inside the weapon itself, that depends where that cartridge goes, right?
A lot of things depend on where that cartridge goes, but yes, that is, it grabs that basically and throws it out.
Because some weapons have slightly different individual characteristics.
Correct.
They have like general characteristics, but that's how you can tell. Because sometimes there will be markings on the rounds and on the cases that you can say this has been fired by this weapon.
Correct.
And sometimes that is the ejector. Right?
Yes.
Because the weapon fires, recycles, and as it's coming back, it hits the ejector pin or whatever you want to call it, and it fires the round out.
Correct.
And generally, most of these weapons are they recycle to the right.
Yes.
Because I guess
most of the ones that I've been involved with, yes.
Okay, and I'm assuming maybe you tell us it's probably because most people are right-handed, right?
Correct.
Because it fires away from the firer's face.
Correct.
But sometimes, so generally, rounds when they're fired from a long-barreled weapon or a handgun go to the right.
That's the intention.
That's
Yes,
the
sir.
intention. Because it keeps away from the firer's face.
Correct.
That'd be no good for military or law enforcement.
Exactly.
It goes away to the right, but sometimes it will go backwards.
Correct.
So there's no real science, there's no real way of accurately saying, does it go backwards or just sideways?
Correct.
But what we can agree with is that round is more dangerous than one of these.
Potentially, yes, sir.
Yeah, and so therefore that weapon is.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And so, because you must do some tactical stuff as well, by the sounds of it?
Yes.
And so when you deploy tactically, what equipment do you have?
A pistol and a rifle.
So you have your pistol was your secondary? Or your
Correct.
backup? What kind of rifle do you carry?
A 223.
Okay, and so what range is that accurate over, generally?
It could go from long distance, but I would say anywhere from 50 yards to 100, 200, 250 yards.
And I guess it depends on how good your training is, right? But
Correct.
What other equipment would you have on you?
A bulletproof vest. Potential you might have a helmet on.
Yeah. And so let's talk about your vest. So I mean, the deputies in the room now are wearing vests, right?
Yes.
And vests come in different types.
Correct.
Right. So there's a general bulletproof vest, which is generally made of Kevlar, right?
Yes, sir.
And I guess they are mostly rated against probably stab-proof, and smaller rounds?
I don't know about the stab proof, but the smaller rounds, yes, sir.
Yeah, generally speaking, they're probably not going to stop something like that.
Generally, no.
Right? And that's kind of, I guess you might agree with me that that's general police issue is a Kevlar vest, probably what the deputies are wearing here today, that will stop a smaller round, which is the one we were looking at there.
Yes, sir.
It'll stop one of those. It won't stop one of those.
Usually not, depending on that vest, but yes, sir, typically.
Probably not, right? You wouldn't trust it, would you?
No.
No. And so in order to do that, you need to put something inside the vest, right?
Yes.
It's normally a Kevlar plate.
A plate.
So you'd probably take your body armor off. You know, sometimes they've got spaces for you to put the plates in them.
Yes, sir.
Right, so you'd have to take your armor off, open it up, put the plate in it, right?
At some point, but they usually stay with it most of the time.
Unless you stays with it. And if you're doing a dual purpose thing, you've got your normal vest on, right?
Yes,
you
sir.
could have your plates in your bag, in a go bag in your vehicle, right?
It depends on that individual, yes, sir.
But you probably have plates in yours.
Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise, you know, you wouldn't want to risk your life with that, right? Otherwise,
correct.
Yeah, of course. And that's is that the stuff you had on you that day when you were in Del Rio and you got this call?
Once I didn't have a helmet on.
You didn't have it. Well, you didn't have it on, but you said you just finished a deployment or something. You had shorts.
Correct.
But you have your equipment available to you.
Yes, yes, sir.
Right, and that's the equipment you had with you, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because so you testified that you were in. I think you said you were in Del Rio.
Yes.
At the time this came in.
Yes, sir.
Or you became aware, right? Because you became aware that there was an incident developing.
Correct.
I'm assuming. So, and that's either through radio or telephone communication.
I was at the office and somebody had walked up to me and said, "Hey, we've heard that there's an active shooter there at Uvalde. Are you going?" And of course, yes.
Right. And so, because you're a law enforcement officer.
Yes, sir.
Right. And you're aware that there's this. Well, you're aware now. At the time, did you say there was an active shooter? Is that what you said?
Yes.
So you know that you hadn't seen that with your own eyes.
Correct.
But you know what an active shooter means.
Yes.
And if that, in fact, as we now know, this horrific thing happened, actually was an active shooter thing, situation. But you were in Del Rio, there's nothing you could do about it.
Sure, but it's still going to respond.
No, of course. But what I'm saying is you were aware in Del Rio.
Yes.
And somebody said to you, you know, Lieutenant, there is this situation going on, you've got to go.
Yes.
Right? And you did in fact go.
Yes.
And it's an hour away.
Yes.
From Del Rio to Uvalde.
Yes, sir.
And all the way there, you're probably receiving more information.
As much as we could.
As much as you could. And we're not talking about the communications piece, that's for later on. But you received more and more information, I would imagine, right?
Yes.
As you traveled from your base to the scene.
Yes.
So you're aware of the gravity of this situation.
Yes.
Now it's developing.
Yes.
But being aware of it doesn't mean you can do anything.
Correct, because I wasn't there at the time.
Because otherwise, because that.
All right, folks, we're going to take a brief 2-minute recess on our end. We'll join this again once we get back from break. See you in 2 minutes. All right, we are back, guys. 2 minutes went by really quickly. We're going to get a brief weather impact update from Becca Birdsall right now as we are headed on our Tuesday forecast for this evening.
Good Tuesday afternoon. If you like warmer weather, well, that's what's going to dominate for the rest of the work week, with high temperatures anywhere from 15 to even a little bit over 20 degrees above our average high for this time of year, which right now is right around 52 degrees and approaching record high temperatures, especially towards the end of the work week. High temperatures today, mild and comfortable, middle 60s with lots of sunshine across the greater Charlotte area, even over towards our South Carolina counties, a few of them hitting near 70 degrees as well, and upper 50s for the highest elevations. It is going to be a fairly breezy day. Max wind gusts right around 25 miles per hour from the west will help draw in some of that warmer air. Our weather impacts will be 60s today, 70s as we go into your Wednesday. Wednesday is the day that we peak with those high temperatures in the middle 70s. After that, we'll continue the warm weather through next Saturday. We are looking at our next rain chance, and that's going to be as our next cold front starts to move through. Will bring us a round of scattered showers. A few thunderstorms will also be possible, especially in those highest elevations, with some cooler temperatures incoming for the second half of the weekend. Today, really comfortable out there. Temperatures will only continue to warm up into the middle to upper 60s across the Piedmont. By the time we get into tomorrow, that's when we peak with highs in the middle 70s. Our average, keep in mind, 52 degrees. So this is all well above that. We'll continue these 70-degree temperatures through Saturday. Our next cold front, that pushes through Saturday night. By the time we get into your Sunday, clearing conditions and highs only making it to the middle to upper 50s, and it gets even colder for there, feeling a little bit more like January going into early next week. Here's your random weather stat today. Charlotte averages approximately one 70-degree day for the entire month of January. This goes back since records began in 1878, and we are prepared to do that 4 times in a row this week. And tomorrow, yes, we peak at 74 degrees, but it's nowhere near the warmest high temperatures on record. The first one is actually 79 degrees back in 2010, but only 4 years ago was 78 degrees, taking that second spot. Here's the rainfall forecast for the next 5 days. Notice the highest rain chances and the most accumulating rainfall will be in the mountains, foothills. East of that, lower rainfall totals expected. This comes between Friday night, but most of the bulk of the rainfall does arrive for your Saturday. So let's time this out. Most of the rain models now have slowed the timing just a little bit. So Friday night, a couple of showers will be possible up in the mountains. This slowly starts to move over towards the east. Best rain chances in the metro, likely during the late afternoon, evening hours, eventually pulling off by early Sunday. And then here comes that incoming cold air. So your weekend forecast looks like this. If you are headed to the Panthers playoff game, you'll want to prepare for temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s and bring that poncho as well. We are anticipating at least some light rainfall as we go into your game. And also, if you're tailgating before then, it's going to likely be overcast and just a dreary day. Sunday, sunshine back into the forecast, and highs significantly cooler as we continue to get that cooler air from the north, middle to upper 50s, turning even colder going into your Monday. It is going to be a breezy day as well with the rainfall on Saturday, so keep in mind those wind gusts likely between 30 to even up to around 40 miles per hour, and that is going to bring us the potential for a couple of thunderstorms as well with the warm weather combined with that. After that cold front pushes off, then yes, finally starts to feel a little bit more like January as we go into your Sunday and Monday in this Jerry Hood Supercenter 7-day forecast. So today, 65. Tonight, a few areas of patchy dense fog will form. After that, sunshine back to the forecast, a high of 74 on Wednesday. Enjoy.
All right, guys, we've been checking up on our trial down in Texas. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break and go back to this in 2 minutes. See you then. We are back, guys. We're going to go back to this officer who is on trial in Texas right now after the Uvalde school shooting. We'll go to this now live.
Right. And you said that you did some interviews.
Yes.
Of school people.
Yes.
School employees.
Correct.
And that wasn't that day, right?
No, sir. This is for the weeks, or for a week probably, every day for the next week or so.
So how long after this incident do you think you did these? What I'm getting at is, what was the time span? Was it the next day? Was it a week later?
So the next day I was dealing with returning property back to agencies who had just left their equipment. So I dealt with that. And then after that, it was more of dealing with, I had to go to the hospital the day of, right after this. Not for myself, but as part of the investigation. And then it was more a list of individuals who were employed at the school, officers that responded. So we broke that up and started conducting interviews. So those are the interviews that I had done.
And so you spoke to a lot of school district employees. I'm not talking about Adrian, I'm talking about staff at the school district, right?
Correct.
And you spoke to all kinds of people, right?
Correct.
From coaches, I guess?
I don't believe it was more of staff, principal, secretaries, and then officers that responded.
And Ranger, I guess you would agree with me that your investigation showed a practice or a pattern of staff defeating the locks at the school, right?
Correct.
What I mean by that is there was a policy in place in the school district for the doors to be locked, the exterior doors to be locked.
Correct.
And for the interior doors of classrooms to be locked.
Correct.
Right. And they were fitted, I guess you'd agree with me, with what has been called a lot of these doors, through your investigation, they're called Columbine doors, right?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. But they were fitted with doors that can only be locked from the outside.
Correct.
And there's a purpose for that, right?
From the individuals that I spoke to, the purpose for that was so a student couldn't lock a teacher outside the door.
Okay, right, and that's a valid purpose, right? But what you know through your law, because you've been a firearms instructor for 24 years, right? You were around just after Columbine in 1999, and you've done lots of training in active shooters.
Yes, sir.
Scenarios, right? And one of the reasons that those doors are supposed to lock is so that people like the person who committed this unspeakable act can't gain access to the building.
Yes, sir.
Because if it's locked, presumably they don't have access to the keys.
It would be harder to get into the school. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if it's locked, you can't get in through a locked door without breaching it.
Correct.
Right, because these doors are pretty substantial.
Yes, sir.
They're metal.
Yes, sir.
You've got metal frames.
Yes, sir.
So if you were to go and you would need, and your team would need special equipment to get into that.
Correct.
So the reason they're locked is so that a kid can't play a prank on their teachers, right?
Sure.
But also for more sinister reasons to prevent things like this happening.
Correct.
Right. And that's just the external doors.
Yes, sir. Well, I was speaking about the ones inside the classroom.
But external and internal, right?
Yes.
But your investigation showed a pattern of staff defeating these locks.
Based on the interviews I had done, yes, sir. There were staff that wouldn't always lock the inside doors.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But your investigation showed that the school had magnets that they could place on the doors to defeat the locks.
Correct.
And they would give them out to staff.
Now that I don't know.
But
I know there were some teachers that utilized those. Now, do I know if the school gave those out? I don't know anything about that.
You don't recall being told that these magnets were given to substitute teachers because they wouldn't be able to get in and out with passes?
Very true. Yes, sir. But your normal staff, no. But substitute teachers, so because they weren't given a key to the classroom, they would be given those.
And I know you're think you're probably aware there was a policy that was against the school policy.
I would suspect so.
Yeah. Thank you, Roger. Yeah, and yeah, so just thank you, Jason. So just to confirm that your investigation revealed that there was a pattern of leaving these doors unlocked.
Yes.
There was a pattern of defeating the door locks with magnets.
Yes, sir.
Right. And on this day when you were there, you now know that these doors were in fact all unlocked.
At the time, I was under the same impression as everybody else that the door was locked, and come to find out that I've been told, based off of that crime scene investigation, that that door was unlocked.
Well, let's just talk about that for a second. So we'll deal with the end of it first, right? So now, through your investigation, I appreciate your candor, Ranger, that we now know that those doors were all unlocked.
I know that one door was unlocked.
The one on the west, right?
Yes.
Is that one you're referring to?
The door, I don't know what classroom door that is.
My approach to this.
Yes.
Just very briefly, just to clarify something.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you what's stage one. And this is the demonstrative of the scene, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is the school.
Correct.
And this is the new building or the west building, as it's called, right? And you'd agree this is the south door.
Correct.
When you say we know that the door, you said the door was unlocked. We're talking about this west one.
No, sir. I was talking about the inside door.
Oh, the inside door to the classrooms.
Correct.
Yeah, they were locked. Do you also? They were unlocked. Sorry.
One of those that I know of was unlocked.
Did you know that one of the door locks wasn't even working?
No, sir.
You didn't know that?
No, sir.
Right.
I take it back. I knew that they had been having problems with one of them because they had reported it to maintenance that one of the doors was not working.
And nothing had been done about it, right?
Correct.
So the school knew that that door wouldn't open, that wouldn't lock.
That they were having issues with it, yes, sir.
Right, and it had been reported to maintenance.
That's what I had been
and
advised.
Nothing had been done about it.
Correct.
But it was supposed to be locked.
Yes, sir.
But it was unlocked. Do you also know through investigation now, I guess you can agree, that the external doors were also unlocked?
Not based on my investigation, but based off of information I had heard, yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it. Pass the witness, Judge.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to start with this whole idea about the common pattern of defeating these Columbine doors being the magnets.
You're going to have to ask that question a different way.
Fair enough. I believe the defense asked you about the common practice of using magnets.
I don't know about Columbine, but I'd heard that there had been individual teachers that were using magnets so the doors would not lock.
I just used the word Columbine because you used that for the name lock. I'll back off of that. The whole issue is pattern of using magnets so door wouldn't lock.
Yes, sir.
Door locking is a safety precaution.
Correct.
To protect, I believe the defense said, from things like this happening.
Correct.
And school district police officers are also employed to keep things like this from happening.
Yes, sir.
And provide security.
For the students, yes, sir, and staff.
And determine whether or not there was a common practice not to lock doors.
I'm going to object. That calls for speculation, Judge.
This is what his training has been, Your Honor.
I'll rule the objection. You can answer if you know.
I don't know.
You don't know?
They would know that there is a common practice going on. Would they be aware of that? You would suspect that if they are there at that campus that they'd be aware of that.
That a school district police officer, you would suspect they would know if there's a common practice of defeating the locks with magnets.
Yes, sir.
And whose job would it be then to correct that?
The staff or that officer.
In charge of the security?
Correct.
To keep that from happening?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any indication that any of the school district police officers corrected the problem, the common problem, of using magnets to defeat the locks?
No, sir. I didn't interview any of those individuals.
And Adrian Gonzalez was a school district police officer?
I don't know Adrian Gonzalez.
I'd like to also speak to you about the casings you found inside the car.
Yes.
And just to be clear, the casing could end up inside the car because the weapon was fired inside the car.
It could.
And the casing ejected.
Yes, sir.
But if a window is broken out, can a casing escape a weapon outside the car and enter the car?
Sure. Yes, sir.
And was there a window broken out in this case?
Yes.
In this vehicle?
Front passenger window.
So it would be completely consistent with being just outside the car for two casings to end up inside the car?
It could. Yes, sir.
And I wanted to talk to you also about the suggestion about to do anything about it, you need to see it, right?
You would have to be present.
Present. You were in Del Rio.
Yes.
You couldn't do anything about it in Del Rio.
Correct.
So what did you do?
Responded.
What does responded mean?
I went to that location.
To do something about it,
Yes.
if needed.
Yes.
And you got to that location.
Yes.
And fortunately, you weren't needed at that point.
Correct.
But if you get to a location and you can't see an active shooter, but you can hear an active shooter, what do?
You respond to that location.
Go to see it?
To work, not just to see it, but to respond and to initiate whatever you can do to stop it.
So an active shooting, and you hear shooting, to do something about it, you go to it.
Correct.
You don't look for cover.
Correct.
But we talked about equipment. If you don't have your helmet on, then it's okay to look for cover, right?
No, sir.
If you don't.
All right, folks, we're going to take one more break here during our time. We'll come back in 2 minutes. All right, we are back. We're going to go back to this trial right now in Texas on this Uvalde officer.
Officer assigned to that school, then it'd be difficult for that non-existent school resource officer to report things to the school, right? That makes sense?
If he had never been there, then no, he wouldn't know that.
Right. No further questions. Thank you, Ranger.
No further questions?
Recall, either side.
I We don't need to recall him, Your Honor.
Subject to recall, please, Your Honor.
Okay, Ranger, the rule's been invoked. I think you're familiar with that. Please don't discuss the case with anyone. Be available for recall. And once again, when you know the case is over with and the rule is over, you can talk about it.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next witness.
Justin Duck. These are the other 5.
Which ones are these? Oh, did they go in?
The ditch. The other 5 photographs that you objected to earlier. We didn't object to them. I'm just...
All right, so as you just heard, things are wrapping up. A pretty action-packed day inside this courtroom down in Corpus Christi, Texas. There's going to be more to come from this. Obviously, Adrian Gonzalez is the former Uvalde officer who is on trial, accused of failing to protect students during the Robb Elementary School shooting in that happened in 2022. Obviously, we are now 4 years from that here in 2026. So we'll get more on this throughout the week. Gonzalez himself faces 29 counts of child abandonment or endangerment charges. So a lot of today's testimony was about that and kind of building that case today. We're going to go to another big situation that's happening here in Charlotte and really across North Carolina. A committee at the state level has called for a number of leaders from Charlotte to speak in front of them and testify. One of those people is Sheriff Gary McFadden. He's facing a number of different things happening, not only within his department, but outside as well. He sat down with us here on WCNC Plus. Here's what he had to say.
Time right now is 9:11. Breaking news right now is our top story this morning out of Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Gary McFadden facing some pressure as a new court petition has been filed to seek his removal from office. And this comes as the sheriff is also preparing to testify before the North Carolina General Assembly, that committee, later this month. Joining us right now live in the Live Impact studio with our weekly conversation is Sheriff Gary McFadden. Sheriff, thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Sticking to our commitments. We need to start with this elephant in the room and what everyone's talking about. This petition filed by Representative Carla Cunningham, as well as some former employees with the Sheriff's Office. Some serious allegations here, misconduct, retaliation, even claims of threats. What is this stemming from, and your reaction to this filed petition?
Well, the reaction is that we cannot comment on this at this time because it is going to be investigated by the SBI. I received a copy yesterday and read through it, and I clearly understand what is going to happen after that, but not the process. So we're just going to leave it to the process and stick with the process and hope that the process reveal the true outcome of what these allegations are. And so we're not going to comment on it. We just hope that it is a fair and a thoughtful investigation, and that's it.
Are you concerned at all about how these allegations affect perhaps the public confidence in your office?
Well, we're always concerned about how someone tried to create a different image of you. We're always going to be concerned about that. People who know me know my image, they know my style. And so, it is always that era that we have when it becomes election season. And so we're in the middle of election season, 60 days out from the primary. So we all understand that. It is devastating to my staff, my family, and also to myself, but we have to leave it to the process.
And these allegations, of course, following you now to your next major appearance. We know the North Carolina General Assembly requesting your appearance, as well as several other leaders in Mecklenburg County, to talk about safety, transit safety, as well as other initiatives like DEI. What do you expect from this hearing?
Well, we don't know exactly what to expect from the hearing. They asked for numerous documents from my agency, and we're going to produce those documents. We believe that these are the type of conversations that we need to have prior to something like this. You're mixing two incidents. You're mixing what happened with the light rail, and then you're trying to mix it with these allegations of this petition. And what What we're simply asking people to understand is these are the type of conversations we should have all the time with the lawmakers in Raleigh, and let us clarify some of the misunderstandings that they may have. And hopefully when we get to Raleigh, we will clarify some of the misunderstandings that they may have, and clarify a lot of things for the public. So we look forward to the hearing. We're going to produce all the documents that have been asked of us, and we go forward. But we hope that this is the beginning of conversations. As I always say, that we need more conversations and collaboration and communication. And that is what will be helpful going forward.
Yeah, you've said you have nothing to hide, and you look forward to this opportunity to set the record straight. But, you know, between the court petition, the criticism over Irina's law, what happens between now and then? Because you still have a few weeks.
Well, we still have to carry on with our duties at the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. We can't stop. You know, we don't